This One-Up podcast is brought to you by Dead Space. Take on the role of engineer Isaac Clarke aboard a stricken interstellar mining ship and battle the hideously transformed crew of necromorphs. Fight your way through a blood-curdling interactive horror experience featuring state-of-the-art graphics and effects, a panic-inducing audio system, and a truly frightening atmosphere of death and despair. Dead Space is in stores October 14th on the PS3 and Xbox 360 and October 20th on the PC. Visit deadspace.ea.com for more information.
Hello and welcome to the One-Up Show, One-Up Your Show for Friday, October 17th, is that right? That was a much worse intro than Garnet usually does. This isn't Garnet Lee, this is Philip Kohler.
It's about right.
All right. Thank you. And I'm joined this week, of course, by Andrew Skip Pfister, who you just heard, Shane Bettenhausen, and John Davison.
This confirms the One-Up FM takeover of the universe.
That is correct. Garnet's gone, as you guys can tell. He's out this week, so we're going to do a clip show. Actually, he mentioned on the TGS podcast that he wanted to do a clip show, but instead of doing just playing clips, we thought we would actually do reenactments of famous scenes from One of Yours past. And we have most of the people here who were in those scenes, so it really works out quite well. All right, let's just get into the real show then. Let's not do a clip show. We're clearly not really prepared to do a clip show.
There have been just too many moments, Philip.
That's right.
Too many moments.
We are pretty prepared to do a real show, though.
That is correct. What do we have planned this week, Andrew? We have
we're just going to do segments. We have what you've been playing.
That's right.
In the second segment, we have news.
Mm-hmm.
In the third segment, we have news.
That's right.
We have lots and lots of news.
When are the fights scheduled?
The fights are scheduled. The undercard.
Segment 3.
Segment 3, I think we have some fights.
Because I have it on good authority that you and Philip have an opinion that, is just stupid.
Well, that's funny because I heard the same thing about you guys.
But it's an opinion.
We're already getting the insults. Wow, that's good.
It's shared by millions, their opinions. So
Their opinion?
I think so. A lot of sheep out there.
We'll see what side the board's
I'm not
take.
even like a typical Blizzard fan. Like, I just play WoW. I'm not like an evangelist.
You're used to...
Well, let's save this until we actually get to this part in the news.
Did you or did you not?
I'm used to paying a lot of money for content that I enjoy.
Did you get your special mount from BlizzCon?
I didn't go to BlizzCon.
Oh, okay.
I didn't go anywhere.
All right.
I went to Texas, but that was unreal.
All right, we're not skipping to the end just yet. We'll save that.
We'll save that. We'll stew on it for a while.
Who wants to start with what you've been playing? I know, Andrew, you've been playing a whole lot, so...
Yeah, no. But speaking of World of Warcraft, I played about 5 hours of it last night after the new patch, 3.04.
So that sounds right. It was their huge pre-Wrath of the Lich King patch.
So are you getting back into it
I'm
because
totally
of Lich
getting
King?
back into it. I've been in the dark for a long time just because it's been such a busy season, and I'm trying to catch up on some regular games that I've not been able to play. But then out of the blue, I'm like, oh, there's a new patch for WoW today. Oh, it's like epic.
Does this
Completely
upgrade
epic.
the graphics to the same level that Lich King upgrades the graphics? They've done an overhaul, right?
I don't think it's a huge change for Lich King.
No?
Because when I was playing last night, it looked pretty much the same.
There's probably some minor steps up, but nothing gigantic.
Yeah, but it's kind of like a brand new game for me because
How long had it been since you played last?
just a couple weeks, but I haven't been playing seriously for a long time. I've just been kind of logging in and on and doing random quests and doing one or two levels every night or something like that. I'm up to level 49, which is the highest I've ever been in World of Warcraft after 4 years.
Nice.
Playing.
Almost to the Burning Crusade content at this point.
It was funny. Some of the guild guys were talking about doing Onyxia and Molten Core, the very first WoW classic end game. I'm like, that'd be interesting to see that. Just kind of walk through it with some of the level 70, level 80 guys. But it's weird because all of the talents are completely redone for pretty much every single class. So everyone got their points back, and everyone's
That's why I'm almost
again.
I'm gonna log in on Friday and check out the new patch, but I'm almost a little afraid because I know that the first thing I'm gonna have to do is spend 20 minutes reassigning all of my talent points and figuring out exactly where I want to put everything.
Yeah, thankfully one of my guild guys did that for me because he's also a druid. It's like, yeah, you should do this, and
so
working on that.
So it was like a mass unnerfing of everything. Is that what it was?
I haven't read how the balance is settling out yet. I'm sure everyone's crying foul.
Yeah, I'm sure, but I think it was primarily just preparing for the new level cap that comes in the expansion. So they redid some of the talent trees and added new talents and everything.
Also, haircuts.
Oh yeah, there's barbers.
You can
now,
change
right?
your hairstyle and hair color again, so you're not locked in.
Is it free or does
No,
it
you have to pay. Actually, you have to pay a lot. I'm surprised. Not like
real money?
Yeah,
Okay,
you
good.
pay-
That comes later.
That comes later.
If you want to color your hair, that's expensive.
And then the other big change I noticed, like Stormwind, the capital city for the Alliance, they created this brand new harbor to accommodate going to the new continent, which is coming in Lich King. And it's really amazing because it's like the first real like huge landscape change. Like they added like another almost half of the city to this harbor area. I thought that was really cool.
That is cool.
So
And also they added achievements, right?
achievements, yeah, that's the other thing.
It's pretty big.
It's kind of annoying in guild chat when everyone's trying to do it now. So every 10 seconds, someone gets some random achievement because they give you achievements for completing your map and then completing portions of the map and then completing continents and then completing.
Wait, everybody in your zone, you see all their achievements happening?
No, just in your guild.
Oh, okay.
But it shows up in guild chat like someone has explored.
Does it show up for all your guild members, or is it just that guild members are like shouting it out?
No, it shows up automatically.
Oh
for-
wow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's kind of annoying. But
That could be pretty annoying,
Yeah, so
especially if you're in
everyone's-
like a bigger guild.
yeah, it's like you have completed exploring like Westfall.
Woohoo!
Woo! And everyone's like, "Grats!" It's a very easy thing to do. Yay! So
There's also like some stupid amount of achievements too, isn't there? Isn't there like
75, I think.
Oh really? See, I thought it was even more than that. I thought there was like hundreds.
There
in the
might be
game.
more than that, but I saw my screen last night looking through it and it said you have like 5 of 75 or something.
What do you get if you get them all?
I don't know.
Probably nothing.
Probably
special
nothing.
mount maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm totally back into WoW, and as soon as all the fall games are done with, and I'm done with them, I think I'm going to be playing that a lot in the next year. And
Very
then all the other games I've been playing, I can't talk about until November.
Maybe
Really?
talk a little bit about them.
Yeah,
In broad strokes.
In broad strokes, Chrono Trigger is
That was playable at TGS.
one of my favorite games of all time.
That's true.
And it's better, and I'm glad that everyone has a chance to play it now.
Excellent.
If you missed it, Mirror's Edge, I'm into. Prognosis is positive.
'Cause that's divisive.
We can talk about that a little bit. There's
Yeah, I
been
mean, it's been
plenty of
playable.
events. And
It's been
they've
playable
given out so
events.
many videos now that I think I've watched the entire game over the course of the last month.
Well, there's
Just the first 3 levels. Most of the videos are like just the first 3 or 4
Oh, okay.
levels.
But
Because I
once-
played them for like a preview a while back.
once you
so-
get an impression of that, though, that's just copy and paste it through the whole game. Like it doesn't really change much, but it's a very exhilarating type of game. I'm really into it.
What do you think about, unless we're doing this in news, I don't remember, the possibility of it being a trilogy?
The trilogy, it is in news. I can see it. I like the world. I like the character. It's very interesting.
I know one of the things that when we talked about it on 1UpFM that Matt Leone brought up was that he thinks it's this kind of game, and I sort of agree with this, where like a few years from now when the second one comes out, like when there is a sequel, we're going to like look back and be like, oh, how could we even stand the first one because of the improvements that they'll make?
Right.
But it is like a stepping stone towards something where like they're probably going to refine it and make it much, much better in future versions.
It can be a lot more ambitious. I mean, it does one thing really, really well that other
Yeah.
people aren't
Yeah.
doing. So, yeah,
But it's very well suited for like a mission structure type of thing. So like you have to go from one place to another really fast in various circumstances and conditions.
I'd love to see it with head tracking as well once they finally, because I mean, there's been so many demos of that now using combinations of cameras and motion sensitive stuff that to play a game like that where you would be able to kind of like peer up and over and look down on
Oh yeah, you
something
can do
would
some
be-
of that with if you're hanging on a ledge, you can kind of look up, I think, a little bit before you pull yourself completely up. But
But something that uses a sort of physical head, you know, like the Wii demo where they mount the controller
Oh,
on
right,
the
right.
camera so that it does a sort of a more truly three-dimensional kind of look around. I think there's stuff that this would lend itself to, because the thing that struck me every time I've looked at it is very odd to have a sense of self in a first person, like the physicality of it. I mean, they
Right,
tried
yeah.
it in Might and Magic and it always looked a bit silly with the legs kind of flapping around when you look down, and this looks better, but it still looks
it's
kind
still
of
a
funky.
little off, yeah.
And that's just by virtue of you're just taking a camera that's stuck in one place and moving it in a way that your head would never move. So it immediately breaks the illusion.
I'm interested to see with this potential trilogy and more games what they do with like the actual city that they built, because you get the impression that it's really big and like there's not much going on. It's very sterile.
That's one of
very
my
empty.
complaints. I wish there were more like people and things going on.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the art style being kind of very clean and clinical because you're running as fast as you can through these environments. There is no time to stop. If you did stop, you'd be dead. So that's kind of a good design choice. But yeah, there is nothing else going on really in the world. So if they kind of keep that city in the same way that you might think that GTA will keep that city and then build stuff into it, I think that's a really interesting way to go.
Shane, how about you?
I played so many games last week at TGS, and since I've gotten back, I've played like one game. And partially, and that game is really strange. It was Castlevania for arcade, which I don't even know why I was playing. It's the PS2 version. When I was up at like 3 a.m, I was like, oh, I'll play a random import that I hadn't played before. And
Fair enough.
Haunted Castle's really terrible. And I was like, why am I playing this? Half an hour later. But I really wanted to be playing Little Big Planet, but the beta ended while I was gone. And all the retail copies have been picked up by other people around here. So I got to wait and buy it next week.
That happened to me too. I missed the beta completely.
Well, yeah. And I was sad because I wasn't done with my level. I wanted to do more stuff. And until it comes out, I feel like there's a hole in my heart.
Oh,
at least you don't have to wait very long.
That's true. It's next week. But John and I are going to play a little multiplayer MotorStorm finally tomorrow. So I'm going to kick your ass at that.
I don't know about that, but we'll play.
But yeah, like since TGS, I've been so busy sleeping, trying to beat jet lag, and trying to catch up on work that. But if you have any questions about TGS stuff, I could tell you more. I played like 20 games last week.
It was pretty epic 1UP FM on that topic, though.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so that's me. Not a lot of games this week, tragically.
I'm all about pointing 1UP listeners towards 1UP FM.
I know.
If you want to hear about TGS games,
I think I'll just cut that segment in right now.
We did talk about them.
There was one game I wanted you to talk more about. Yes. It's got a really strange name. It's that sort of 2D. Nobi Boy. That's it.
Oh yeah.
I wish I knew more because you've seen the teaser.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
And I thought it looked amazing for what it is. Like, yeah, it doesn't have the best graphics ever, whatever, but it's instantly charming and bizarre in the same way that Katamari was.
Yeah.
And it looks fun but simple. And I've heard from people in the last 2 years who've known about this game that what you saw is not completely the game. The game is much more than that, and very strange things like. I've heard some very strange things about what Nobi Boy could be. One of them being like a multiplayer web browser that evolves. I was like, I don't even know what that is. Like, I don't even understand what that is. Okay, if that's part of it, like, yeah. So I think we're going to see more about this game in like the next few months. And
who's publishing it?
It's Namco.
It's Namco
Bandai, and it's the guy who made Katamari, who's famously kind of over games. Like. He thinks all the other games are terrible.
Since he's been he's getting like Kojima. I'm not doing another one. That's it. I'm done. Oh, just one more.
Well, but then Beautiful Katamari was nothing new at all. It had some multiplayer, but so I think all of his new ideas he's putting in this thing, and it might be so out there that it just confuses us all. But I'm definitely intrigued to see what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, John.
To me next.
Yeah, let's do you.
I kind of slowed down on the Little Big Planet stuff, but I'm going to pick it up again.
Well, the beta ended.
Yeah. And
do you have your retail copy?
Just got a retail today.
Because the servers aren't turned on, but you can start doing all the single player stuff.
Yeah. So
I've been doing Little Big Planet as well. So.
Yeah. As of tonight, I'm going to be playing that and Wii Music, which I just got.
Oh, actually, I will say we just got Wii Music retail, and I do want to take it home and try it.
Yeah. So you haven't played the retail version of Little Big Planet yet?
Not yet, no.
Okay. Because I've only played a little bit, but I know that Nick Sutner was saying that he thought compared to the beta and compared to previous review code that we've had, that even in the retail version, it seemed tighter. Like it seemed like the jumping and controls were even tighter than it has been previously. So there might have been like a final tuning pass where they really like cleaned up something.
We have something about that in news too, about how they aren't completely satisfied with it.
Have you guys posted your reviews yet? Because half the rest of the world seems to have done.
No. We're waiting until the servers get turned on just to make sure they work.
Because I think a lot of people, some of the reviews read like they were reviewing from the beta. I think because there was a lot of
right. I mean, all the reviews you're seeing where they talk about sharing, that's all exclusively the beta, and all that content is carrying over. But will the servers be stable? Like, even with the beta, there were some problems, like publishing levels. There
were times where it wouldn't let you publish, and I think the common complaint that's come out of it. I mean, they're all over 90% reviews. I think its Metascore is 96 or something right now.
Wow.
But a lot of people have been saying the controls are too loose and that it's too imprecise. I didn't really have that big of a problem with it.
I got in a lot of those fights with my friends like John and Mark in Japan, and like, no, the jump isn't Mario's jump, and like if you want it to be, it's never going to be Mario's jump, but it works in the context of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, as somebody who loves platformers, I've never really had a problem with it. It took like a few minutes to get used to the jump it was a little floaty in the beta, but once I got used to it, I never had a problem. But I need to play more of the retail now and see if Nick's just crazy or on
Yeah,
drugs.
I'm curious about that too. But I will say that I have heard that day one, like next Tuesday, next Wednesday, there's going to be a patch that fixes things and that adds functionality.
Really?
On previously unannounced functionality.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What else? I played a bunch of Dead Space.
So where do you stand on the Dead Space argument?
I'm buying that this weekend.
What is the argument?
Let me know if I should.
Well, official Xbox magazine gave it 6.5.
Yeah, it's getting high and low, and even people who were really, really excited about it 3 months ago are kind of saying that the promise that they thought was there kind of peters out at the end of the game. I still want to play it.
It's good. I mean, I think what do you go give it a B plus or something?
Yeah,
I think
gave it a B plus.
Yeah, and then I know there's a couple of guys
our
over.
lower end was closer to a C though in the magazine.
Really?
There are a lot of people that are like, oh no way, it's definitely an A, and there are people talking about it's like Game of the Year material. I don't think it's Game of the Year material.
The people over in Game Videos, like I know, like
Matt Ryan
and Jay Fresh have been like they've been playing a ton of it, and they have been like just adoring it, like saying it's A plus material. Yeah.
It's very good, but what it suffers from is the same thing that all horror games and all horror movies suffer from, is that they show you could see too much.
Yeah.
Because the design on the monsters is just ridiculous. Like all I mean the necromorph, whatever the hell they're called. The first time you see them, I mean you get the kind of like, oh my god, it jumped out of nowhere, and it's like ransacking this room and you have to get out.
But
and it's
isn't it always just
and
shooting like the stalks, right? Like you're like
right, but they're
shooting
these
off
like
appendages?
I mean they're these humanoid figures, obviously, because they've been morphed.
Plant stuff going on,
and they've got like these huge arms with big long spikes, and they just look silly.
Plants are rarely like terror-inducing.
Yeah.
So the first time you see one, there's so much kind of anarchy going on that you and your team scatter out of this room, and you go into this room that has like these sort of like cracked windows, and you can't see much, so you can just see like the talons scratching and things exploding, and it's dark and the lights are flashing on and
effective.
off. That works really well. But the first time you're running down a corridor backwards with one of these ridiculous things dragging itself along behind you, you're like, I'm not scared anymore. You just look ridiculous. And you get the cutter gun, and you like you quickly learn that you've got to. I mean, they've said dismemberment so many times in the prayer. How could you not know
Slice
you've
its
got to do that?
tentacles off.
But outside of that, some of the ideas that they've done, we're going to see. I mean, they have definitely established a new way of doing things in sci-fi games, particularly the whole holographic communication thing. I don't know if you've seen it, where
the HUD basically.
The HUD.
Yeah.
So, and the HUD is relative to your on-screen character, not to you. So. When the video chat comes up, it comes out of the suit, and there's this screen is projected in space in front of your character, and it's locked in perspective, so it's as though he's looking at it. So if you move the camera around, you're kind of looking around this flat holographic projection in 3D space. So you can look at it kind of from just over his shoulder. Or you turn it around and you can you're looking at it from the other side, essentially.
I think it's clever. It's also clever how his suit is all your readouts and like it's all within the world of the game.
Yeah, I mean, people have done that. I mean, MDK did that to a certain but it's taken that idea and like, so there's lights up his spine, that's the health gauge, and then there's his ability to slow down time or whatever as this other gauge that's on his shoulder, and it's very elegant.
Here's my question though, like with because you were talking about the video like chat things that come up where they're giving you like mission briefings and such. Is the story anything worth caring about that you're going to want to like play around with that?
Any sci-fi horror movie?
Have you ever seen Event Horizon or 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Yes, I have.
Or Sunshine. Have you seen Sunshine? It's got a lot in common with that.
Oh,
interesting.
Really?
Okay.
It's like,
but I've heard it has an actual monolith in it. I mean, I've heard that, and like,
so there's the whole kind of rusty, claustrophobic, smoke-filled aliens, everything.
Yeah.
But it does jumpy really well without it really being monster closets.
Like cheap
scares.
Cheap jumpy.
It's not particularly. I mean, like there is. You initially think, oh, where the hell did that come from? But after you've cleared the room and everything's calmed down, and you look around, you start to realize where they came from. So it very quickly introduces the fact that there is this duct system on the ship, and that's where they're coming from. Because you at some point you'll be like looking around and he has the light on the gun or whatever, and you see them breaking through and like crawling out, and they don't just burst out, they literally do like drag themselves out of these holes. So it's not like you're not getting surprised by things just going at you. And the bigger creatures are better than the little ones because there's more. You can kind of see what they morphed from originally a little better. The basic kind of humanoid necromorphs are just these silly limbed things, and then they get really gross later on. They like give birth to shit, and it's like it gets kind of icky,
like Alien Resurrection.
I said icky. Can we? I didn't actually just say that.
But the graphics are quite good.
The graphics are very good, and what's most impressive, and what I was surprised on that hardly any of the reviews mentioned, was that I think the sound is more impressive than the graphics.
That's what I keep hearing, and I'm really excited to try it out.
And that everyone talks about it, but no one really said it.
Like
and I think
excellent 5.1 mix.
Excellent 5.1, and I was playing it with I had surround sound headphones on, and there's these moments of calm in the game, which it does really well. Which it's classic. I mean, Event Horizon is something that everyone mentions. It's different thematically, but the execution is very similar. You'll go from these moments of calm, and where all you can hear is just like the hiss of steam coming out of a vent. And every now and then something will creak. There's a very sort of submarine kind of vibe to the ship. It's like a very naval spaceship environment. And like you can hear the metal creaking and things hissing and like things way off in the distance, way out in the sort of the further reaches of the sound. So you know that some nasty shit is going on somewhere, and you may never actually see what it was. And it's things morphing and like growing, and the sound is disgusting in a good way. The music, they were making a big deal about the music, which didn't make a big impression on me, but it is very sort of evocative of the vibe that they're going for. And the other thing that struck me is it's very BioShock in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
I think aesthetically it has a lot in common with BioShock, which is that kind of brown, rusty, steamy, but also
I think even gameplay-wise, because the way you have to fight some of the enemies, it is like do this, then this, lure him over here.
Combination things and location.
I think it owes some of its aesthetic style to BioShock because I can't remember what they call them. The suits have the rigs or whatever they call the suits.
The power suits, whatever.
The power suits that he's wearing have that kind of deep sea diver kind of
like the Big Daddy. You can see that.
Metallic.
It's like a welder to me.
Right.
So it looks like a work device.
Very work device as opposed to spacesuit kind of device, which has there's a lot.
Also, it's got the whole like element where it takes place in this one big area where you're kind of going in and something has gone terribly wrong and you're kind of figuring out what went wrong as you go.
The BioShock comparison, because I think a badly kept secret that this was a System Shock game initially. A lot of people say this was initially planned as a System Shock game.
Oh, really?
That's what I've heard.
Because EA has the rights to that, right?
Yeah, they own
and
that.
it all
I
kind
can
of
see
makes
that.
sense.
I mean, it's not. I mean, System Shock was all about the computers fucking with you, and this is something else fucking with you.
But
the productions. I mean, right from the intro. I mean, it's a very cinematic intro, but it's gameplay, kind of the way that Halo introduces you through the eyes and
But like as an EA original IP, I think it turned out better than a lot of us would have ever had.
Oh yeah.
When it was originally announced, I know a lot of people, including myself, were very skeptical. Like it sounded really cliche, and I mean, I guess kind of we're saying it is cliche in some ways, but
you can't not be derivative when you're like on a spaceship full of monsters. I mean,
but it sounds like it pulled it off really well as a game, nonetheless.
I was skeptical when they first came to show it to us. They were after a reveal cover on EGM when I was still here, but
it already looked solid, even
it looked
at
really
a really
solid.
early phase. Yeah.
And they were from the very beginning. They're like, this is more than a game. The game is the central hub in a broader story that we're going to tell
With comic books
and an online thing. And so I don't know if have you played the online game as well. It's called No One Left Behind. I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, it's like this web-based. It's mostly video and stuff, so it's a little bit like an ARG where you're solving puzzles by watching videos and reading things online or whatever. So they've fleshed out this huge thing. I mean, like the amount of work and that they've put into keeping the entire Dead Space universe really consistent. It works as one package. I would imagine they're going to milk it, and they shouldn't. It
really?
It much like BioShock shouldn't. They're doing. I mean, the teasers on the PS3 BioShock for BioShock 2, and it's like it kind of works and ends.
Yeah, that teaser. I put it in news, but we can talk about it now. That BioShock 2 teaser kind of gave me not a bad vibe, but like this shouldn't exist vibe.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't need this. I mean, Bioshock is a prequel, right? It's
Well, I don't
like,
know.
They haven't
because-
announced that for sure. That's been rumored.
Because
That's
that's
pretty cool.
the first thing I thought of is one of the a girl like watching outside out of the ocean, and she looked like one of the little sisters grown up at the end. So that would infer that it's.
And she appears to be
a
holding
sequel.
something that is sort of
A Big Daddy toy.
a Big
or
Daddy
something.
toy. Yeah.
Like
And-
she has to go back and save the Big Daddies or something. I don't know.
I don't know, but I think, I mean, what I like about Dead Space is that it works as a whole, and that now looking at it, that because I think our initial response to it's going to be a animated movie and a web comic and this and that, and it just struck us as a little arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
That you're going to assume that we give this much of a crap about this, that we're going to want to dig into all this stuff, but it's true. You do when you've once you get into it. I mean, as soon as you get past the first chapter and the game starts to open up a lot more, and you're starting to upgrade more things, and it's less of this sort of oppressive super linear thing that the first chapter is. You do start to get curious about the characters, and that's where all the other media comes in. So I think that's done really well. Shane just pulled a Golden Axe chicken leg out of his shorts.
He seemed very, very proud of himself after he said it.
I was curious if anyone's playing Golden Axe.
I have played
Beast
it
Rider.
previously.
That came out this
It
week.
came out this week.
Getting like bad reviews, is it not?
Yes, and the best thing I heard this last week was that it cost over $20 million to make.
I'm sure it was quite expensive, and it had a lot of problems along the way. And I think the Beast Rider thing is a little bit of a stretch, calling it Beast Rider. It has beasts in it that can be ridden,
Well, there you go.
I just pulled this out.
and it does have an end boss that's like part T-Rex, part shark. Which
you saw the last boss?
And this is bad how?
Yeah, that actually
exactly.
sounds
I mean,
awesome.
like every 6-year-old that's ever drawn a monster, like it's a dinosaur with a shark tail. Fucking hell.
Sharkosaurus Rex.
And it has to eat to live.
Most things have to eat.
was this game made by Secret Level?
It was Secret Level, yeah. So nice.
I feel like they've done a lot of rough Sega games recently.
Much like Iron Man.
Yeah.
Nice engine, not so great
Yeah.
content. And I can't talk about this too much probably, but I've been playing Need for Speed Undercover, which I think we've now learned that Need for Speed is a bit like the Star Trek movie franchise in that
Every other year?
every other
time?
every other time is very, very different.
Yeah.
So the last one, Pro Street, was very sort of competitive street racing, very.
To me, it seemed like a casual sim.
Haven't they
Borderline
actually come
sim.
out and said now that they've split it between two studios?
It's very.
and
This is a black box game, so it's
every other year now they're going to do like one is like every other year it's going to be arcade one year and then more sim the next year.
So what's
on and off.
interesting about this one is that it's sort of it feels like a spiritual successor to Hot Pursuit, which is
Because it has cops, right?
Yeah.
very cop driven, and as the name suggests, you are a cop. But the sort of the Fast and Furious thing, you're Paul, what's his name?
Walker.
Paul Walker's character, infiltrating this gang. Now, what's been interesting about the previous street racing games is that they've been open world and you had to go hunt for things. This, EA is going through this like appeal to the casual thing. You do not have to work for it in Undercover. Like every event that's available, you don't have to go look for it. It just kind of serves it up for it. And if you want to play it like a linear go from race to race to race to race, you finish a race and you're automatically within range of the next one. You just tap down on the D-pad and you're in the next race, and you can very, very quickly. You don't have to go wandering
But there is
around the city.
there is a persistent city.
There is a giant city, and you can cruise around it if you want. And they did this a little bit in Carbon, where they would let you go to the map, and you can still do that.
Yeah.
But in this one, if you want to play it like a linear going from one race to the next, you can do that, and it makes it very, very easy for you to do that. But the Hot Pursuit stuff it starts off you're doing street races, and then it starts to introduce the cop element, and it has some of the same modes. So there's a damage to the city thing. So you have to basically there's a dollar value to the things that you crash into, and a cop car is like $10,000, and you can knock over bus shelters.
Very burnout.
So you're trying to destroy the city and run away from cops as an undercover cop?
Yeah, so because what you have to ingratiate yourself to the gangs that are running the thing by being bad. So what the game is trying to do is show that you're not really a good guy, but you're not a bad guy either. You're trying to play this line down the middle in order to
Paul
infiltrate.
Walker.
You're Paul Walker.
That's how real gangs work, by the way.
And It has
Gangs in Minnesota do that.
live action video.
Oh, with Maggie Q.
That's right.
That's
With
right, yeah.
Maggie Q
Maggie Q.
and Christiane, what's her name?
Christina Milian.
Milian is in it
She's
again,
hot.
and it a little cheesy.
Little? Just a little?
A little bit.
I mean, it's
Slightly.
I
not.
would hope that it'd be like super cheesy.
It's quite cheesy.
Excellent.
It's sort
But
of,
that's-
camembert.
It's supposed to. Is it supposed to be like? I know like pretty much everyone who uses live action video now in video games, they usually do it as in like trying to be corny,
I
like
think
the way they do with the Command and Conquer
I don't
series.
think they're trying to be corny.
No,
Well,
Wow.
is it as corny and cheesy as Fast and Furious movie?
It's a similar kind of level. So there's a lot of very earnest cops, and there's a lot of sort of, you need to go do this, and it's like very fast
But
cut.
it's all-
and
it's all
everything's
hyper
dark.
stylized
It's very
and, like,
hyper
yeah.
stylized, but
Sounds like
but
Michael
not.
Bay.
So what they did in Carbon, maybe,
It had video.
or
of
most Wanted, or whatever. There was video, but they drew over it.
right. It's not like that.
It's not like
it
that.
It is video.
This is video that's just. They've obviously put it through like After Effects or something on video and like super saturated the colors and very contrast. So everything's very dark with very bright lights and backlit and
I mean, so the bottom line, we know Need for Speed is still incredibly popular, but this is coming out versus Midnight Club, and we already have, there's games like Burnout and GTA already out. Do you think the excitement is still going to be there?
My initial response
Need for
is
Speed?
it's trying to straddle that line between Burnout and something else, and I think that the further you get into it, the more cop chase focused it gets.
Yeah.
It has some interesting events. There's some of the challenges to win this is like the Racing for Pinks and stuff that's been. I mean, there's a lot of ideas that were very successful in previous versions, and they've cherry picked the ones that people really liked.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember in. Oh God, there's been so many. I don't remember all the names.
I'm trying to remember too. The last one I played was Underground 2.
2. Do you remember so do you remember the drag racing in Underground 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where it would change the controls so that you only
Went straight.
went straight, and then
Yeah.
in Carbon they changed it and people liked it better. So now instead of drag races, there's two similar modes. There's one called Outrun and then one called, I don't remember what it's called, but one of them is you have to chase somebody and get in front of them and then stay in front of them for a minute and not let them pass you, and then that's something that exploits the open world. The other thing is there's a freeway battle where I think that might be what it's called. Uniquely, where you have to get at least 1,000 feet in front of somebody.
Like Tokyo Highway.
Exactly, it's just like Tokyo Highway Battle. So it's like you don't have to worry about turning off, and that all you're focused on is on
The distance.
There's a highway that runs all the way around the city, and it's full of traffic. So you've got to weave in and out of the traffic and try and get the guy to follow you, so he gets blocked, and then you kind of whiz out to the side, and you have to pull out in front of him. So it's got some really interesting modes.
I've never seen it actually in motion, but I remember being disappointed when I saw the screenshots. But does it look better in motion?
It has so far. I mean, and you can see this from the stuff that they've shown so far. Is it suffers from the same problem that Most Wanted did, and that is that the hero cars are all like amazingly detailed, and the sort of cannon fodder in the game, just like the junk, looks like crap.
Ugh.
Big disparity.
Because massive draw distance, big city, ton of detail. So something had to give, and it was the other cars are a little boxy.
Are you going fast enough to like not notice it? Or
Yeah,
ignore
it's when you slow down and you start to notice that things moving around in the city. Like, so you'll go up against someone and he pulls up in like the new Camaro or whatever, and it looks fantastic. But then some minivan will go by and it looks like a box with square wheels. It's. But it's. I mean, if you look, Need for Speed fans, and there's a lot of
millions.
Yeah.
Of them.
There's, 8 million.
Yeah,
This is a
it's-
typical number for Need for Speed sales.
Do you think Need for Speed might copy or emulate the Burnout model at some point soon?
Well, I think it needs to be different.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's particularly when they're in these years, the even numbered years, I guess, where they're on the more arcadey end, and that it is veering more into that territory. And there are these parts where you're cruising up over this big sort of long thing that comes into up over a hill and around a bend, and you'll see bunch of construction at the side. And, there'd be bus shelters and stuff, and you can smash through them. And then you'll get this flash of, if this was Burnout, the following would happen. Is it going to behave the same way?
Yeah.
But it has a lot, I think probably the thing it pulls from the most is Most Wanted was the last cop one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where there are scripted events where you crash through things and stuff collapses. And so there's a lot of that kind of thing in it. So it's it's like a good kind of blend of everything. But like you said, I think there's not a lot of racing games this year, but I think that's because we got a little super saturated on them. And Burnout is so vast, and they keep pumping content into it.
That's what I was going to say. I think if it has any competition, it's still Burnout because like they keep releasing new stuff. It's up on PSN now.
It raises the attention level.
It's cheaper in stores and on PSN.
I think people are underestimating Midnight Club. Even Dub ended up selling millions and millions of copies. So
I suppose Midnight Club.
I've
not seen it yet, but someone told me that the PSP, what's it called, Midnight Club Remix or whatever,
something like that,
is supposed to be fantastic.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, PSP could use that.
Yeah.
Rockstar is pretty good on the PSP. The Warriors port was.
It was actually the best version.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've still got to play. I'm going to play the first, and you level up, and there's a lot of upgrades. But again, it's doing it in an arcadey way, and I'm not that far into it. But so far, it's got all the Need for Speed, and it handles like Need for Speed, which I think any long-term fan of the franchise, there's a specific way that the cars feel in Need for Speed, where you kind of have to forget how you've been driving other games, and you start to realize that if you just ease off on the throttle, if you've got the handling on the car set up, at a decent level, you can like hang onto a curve, and the ways that you can kind of tuck in behind people. I mean, they've done, and it's got the tire smoke from Pro Street, and so it's like a sort of greatest hits of Need for Speeds.
Mm-hmm. They just keep building and building on their stuff.
So I mean, I'm sure it'll do great. Yeah. I think it feels like it's been overlooked this year though.
They didn't show it for a long time. It's like, oh yeah, Need for Speed. Oh yeah.
I mean, I think the most visible I've ever seen them since they announced it was at PAX.
Yeah,
where they had the cars and they had the screens in the cars they were showing.
And it's funny because the hardcore racing fans, you hear them talking about Forza or Gran Turismo Burnout, like the millions of people who buy Need for Speed, they're a silent majority. They're out there.
Yeah, but there's millions of them.
Yeah. So there you
go. I think I'm showing you MotorStorm. I keep starting Sonic Chronicles and then putting it down.
I would like for you.
Why
to play
is
it.
that?
I don't know.
I know Ryan O'Donnell. He's playing it and he likes it. And he's an adult, so I need to talk. I need to meet more adults who.
Ryan Scott doesn't qualify.
Does not qualify.
He loved it, didn't he?
I think he was wearing his SPO the Chameleon outfit while he was playing it. That's a character from Chaotix.
Is that one of the shitty friends?
One of the shittiest.
I mean, it starts at Tails and just deteriorates, right? I mean, the scrappy do of gaming and then everything worse than that.
Well, I think Tails and Knuckles are on the same level and then below them, I think.
Tails is a little scrappy do to me. I think that's it for me.
All right. Well, I have some games. Speaking of World of Warcraft, I didn't play that this week because instead I've been playing Warhammer Online. And getting a little bit further in that and still enjoying that. Have you seen like the flame wars that have been going on between like it was some World of Warcraft creator and some Warhammer Online creator?
I've not seen them,
Mark Jacobs, I think, is the Warhammer Online guy.
I can imagine, and we've done interviews with him.
Yeah, and he's definitely an outspoken guy, so I'm not super surprised.
Is it happening on a message board or on their blog?
No, it's I think where I was seeing it primarily reported was actually MTV Multiplayer.
Okay.
They were talking back and forth between these guys.
They're going to each other's houses and standing out.
But basically, it was like they asked this World of Warcraft designer. And I can't remember which World of Warcraft guy it was, but they asked him, what do you think of Warhammer Online? And he talked about how he'd had trouble getting into the beta or something. And actually, you know what? I think what it was that Mark Jacobs originally said, we know that Blizzard guys are trying to get into our beta, but like they're trying to hide it, but we know they're getting into our beta. And then they went and talked to this World of Warcraft guy, and he was like, well, we didn't really try and hide the fact. Of course, we're going to try out their beta. Like what? But so he talked about the game a little bit and some of the problems. I mean, he was actually really rather nice. Like he said, it was, it was like clearly taking some of the stuff World of Warcraft had done and kind of building on it. But he said that he thought it was good. He said they want competition out there. They don't want to be the only MMO. So they're glad that they have, they've been getting subscribers, which we'll talk about later. But then Mark Jacobs responded with like some really harsh criticisms of World of Warcraft and said like basically, if you compare World of Warcraft to Warhammer Online, like there's no way World of Warcraft has the same number of innovations that Warhammer Online does. Which
there's just 24 times as many people playing it.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow.
So what are some of the innovations that you think he's talking about?
I guess mostly, it's the focus on PvP and like the public quest system also. But I don't know, like I've been enjoying Warhammer Online and I'm still enjoying it, but I'm definitely getting to the point where I'm like, all right, I know that I'm going to be going back to World of Warcraft soon.
Approaches.
Lich King's coming. I'm probably going to cancel my account when Lich King comes.
In Warhammer, the public quest system, if you complete a quest and I'm standing next to you, I kind of get.
No, that's not how it works at all.
That'd be totally awesome.
That would be nice.
I would just log into.
Basically, it's like
kind of a tag along.
There's these public quests that take place in certain areas.
Yeah.
And so, like, it might be you're standing in this one area where there's a public quest happening where you have to kill a bunch of, like, let's say, I don't know, rat creatures or something. I don't think there are rat creatures in the game. I'm just throwing that out there.
I'm sure there are.
Probably somewhere. But so you have to kill, like, let's say the public quest is to kill 100 rat creatures. What it is that everybody who's in the area who's doing this contributes to the public quest and gets experience. Like, they get experience for each rat creature they kill for this public quest. And then they fill up a separate bar that's like a renown, I think it is. And you can get up to like 3 levels of renown for each public quest.
Didn't WoW do something like that before Burning Crusade came out? Or it was some sort of big patch where the entire world had to contribute materials.
Oh yeah, that was
to open a gate or something.
Yeah, it was for one of their areas. I can't remember it was how Luke became Scarab Lord.
Exactly. So. Is it like that? Only taking it to like an official like.
Yeah, it's sort of like that, but it's something that's happening constantly in these areas. It's not just like one big event and then once it's done, it's over.
I think that's really cool.
It's another incentive to do things.
Exactly, and like I've said in other places, like on the 1UP show and such, like it's the other thing that helps with this is it's super easy to join a group because there's literally a button there, and you can set your group to open. And when you have your group as open, like somebody can click a button and they'll see all the groups in this area that are open, and then you can join a group. You don't even have to talk to the people, and you just keep doing the quest.
Ryan Scott had a like minor beef with that because that kind of thing like killed the social aspect.
Yeah, it's like, definitely there's not discussion here.
Yeah, there's no general chat. Is that right?
There's general chat, but it's split into really small areas on the map. So so it's not like World of Warcraft where you're in like everybody in this whole big zone is talking
like the Baron.
Exactly. There's no Baron's chat here. It's just this small area.
That's good and bad.
Yeah, it's interesting. It feels really different because I'll play Warhammer Online and not talk to anyone for like 2 hours. Whereas if I'm playing Warcraft, I'm like usually talking to people nonstop. So it's a different feeling. I'm still enjoying it, and I'll keep playing it, but I don't think I'm gonna stick with it for good. Like I know that Ryan and Damien were both thinking this might be the one they switched to, but
really,
I don't think
Damien really.
Damien said he's at least still considering it.
Also said this about Lord of the Rings Online, and then they all drifted off.
Yeah, and Conan.
Because everyone,
and Conan too. Yeah.
After like 4 years now, everyone has so much invested into their characters. If you're high level like Damien and Ryan,
did you guys hear that the Lord of the Rings Online expansion that they're doing is coming out like the week after Lich King?
Good luck with that.
Maybe that was a bad idea. Yeah. Like I was like, oh, maybe I'll check out Lord of the. Oh, maybe not. No,
I'll be busy.
Like, maybe you should have pushed it to next year. Anyways. I've also been playing Fallout 3, which is pretty much amazing.
Dick. I've been waiting for the copy all week, and I still don't have it.
The French guy who hates it, this famous, like, there's a French preview that came out today. He's, like, super negative in the game.
Yeah, I guess I heard sort of vaguely about that. I don't know much about it.
Must be French.
I mean... You know, like it's coming from Bethesda. It's in the same engine, same style that Oblivion was in. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's Oblivion, but sci-fi or post-apocalyptic."
Are you using?
I'm gonna have to take my pants off.
Are you using the turn-based combat or the real-time combat?
Well, the thing is, you use a mix of it, and if you want to do combat effectively, you sort of have to use a mix of it. Like you can do it all real-time if you want. So like, this is the reason that I'm loving Fallout 3 so much. Is I think it's going to appeal to a very wide variety of people because it's not in this cliche fantasy setting that sets it up as like this RPG, generic RPG like Oblivion was, and you can do this real time gun combat. So like you can make it feel like a first person shooter.
Yeah,
generically awesome, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, because it also makes it feel more like a Japanese RPG, which is part of the reason I like it. Because I don't like clumsily swinging a sword. I'd rather pick the body part I want to shoot and shoot it.
And the way that the combat works, I mean, is like generally when you start when you engage somebody in combat, like you have this full AP bar. And then you press the button to do like the what do they call it? VATS, I think. Yeah. And then you take the shots that you want to take. It does them, but then your AP runs out for each shot you take. So then usually the person, unless you're fighting a low level enemy, they won't be dead after you've done that. So you still have to do some real time combat to like finish them off, kind of, or else you need to go run and let your AP heal up and then do it again.
I was talking to Scooter, who's also playing it, and he said he's being as evil as possible.
I'm being as good as
So
possible.
when you
so I'm
first see
doing
that, one of the first things you see this town, and these people are like, "Hey, we want you to destroy this town. It's up to you." He totally destroyed that.
Well, it's actually a town that's built around, and this is like they've showed this in previews,
Right.
but it's built around like a bomb.
A bomb.
Yeah, and you can arm the bomb and set it off,
So
and then you wipe out all these quests. There's like a huge quest chain in that town, and you just get rid of it if you want.
Can you set it off after you complete the quest?
Yes, you can.
Be more prudent.
So the sort of in the past, Fable and Oblivion were kind of, even though they were on different platforms, they were kind of pitched against each other. And yet again, we have a Fable and a Bethesda RPG that are going to be competing for people's time
on the same day.
On the same day.
Well, it's like
have you played both
within a week of each other? I haven't actually. My girlfriend's been playing a bunch of Fable too, so I've got to see that as well, and it looks great. But the thing is that I'm loving. I'm gonna play Fable 2, but I'm sure that I'm gonna love Fallout 3 a lot more. Just again, going back to that setting thing.
Yeah.
Like the setting makes everything in this because you're in like these wastelands that are based around Washington D.C. You go into Washington and you get to see all these like monuments and see how they've been like just demolished, and seeing this like horrific wasteland, especially in a time of economic crisis, as you keep pointing out, Shane.
We are in the midst of global economic meltdown.
I think it's something that's going to actually like mean something to people who are playing it. Like I've seen
You're
like
right.
there's
I think it is going to hit at the right time.
Exactly.
It's a meaningful dystopia.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like there's times when I'm playing and I'm just like, oh my god, this is like scary and depressing. Like this wasteland. It's really. I mean, it looks great.
Yeah.
Like the graphics are great, and
as dark as everything is right now, this is even darker.
Yes.
A nightmare vision.
Well, I mean, on the flip side, I think it's been interesting that the way that the Lionhead guys have been kind of setting the stage for Fable 2 is by spending the last month really harshing on Fable 1. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Like saying, because they said that the inherent failure of the original Fable was that if you track people's behavior in Fable 1, about 40% of the players would start the game evil. Mm-hmm. But 90-something% of the people that completed Fable completed it on a good path. So even if you started evil, the quest structure drew you back onto the virtuous path. Sort of like if you played in a sort of natural fashion, even if you were trying to be bad, the game sort of forced you to be good.
Like there are more incentives.
There were a lot more incentives to play. You had to really want it to play evil, and even then it would drift you back towards the middle. And the failure of it was that not many people actually beat the game on a completely evil path. And it sounds like in Fallout, you can be a real dick.
Oh yeah, I've been playing it good, like I said, but I've been talking to Scooter, who's been playing Evil, and also to Mike Nelson, who had been playing through on Evil, and they told me like there were points where we were comparing what we did for certain quests to complete, where they did stuff that was just wildly different as Evil. Like for an example, I'll just use this without any spoilers as an example, but you get one quest where you're asked to break up this couple. It's a husband and wife, and they seem very happy, but you're told to break them up. I went in and my character is very strongly speech based, so like my speech skill is up really high, and I went in and just told the wife that I saw him cheating on her, and because my speech skill is so high, she believed me and then broke up with him right there. What Mike Nelson did is he went to a neighbor's house where this woman who I said she was cheating on him was. He stole her underwear out of her dresser, brought it back to the house, and then put it in a spot where the wife would find it. Then he couldn't get the wife to go find it though. Like I don't know if it was just he couldn't get her to go into the right room or something. So then he took a cookie something rolling pin. Yeah, thanks. He took a rolling pin.
Domestic Philip.
Yeah, really.
Thing that you do.
You know
like,
what is that?
With?
A knife. He took a rolling pin from this couple's kitchen. Went back to the house with that woman, beat her to death, and then took the bloody rolling pin and like planted it on or gave it to the husband, and then he assumed that the wife had done it and freaked out and was like, "You're insane! I can't be with you anymore." And,
wow.
Yeah,
that's bizarre.
And it's just
awesome.
like such a completely wildly different.
Shut up. Okay,
John can't handle it.
I can't handle it.
Wow! Yikes. So it's really good.
John played a lot of Oblivion.
I did, and and when I was done, I'm like, now I want this sci-fi, and they did that. It's like they were listening. Thank you.
And the other cool part is just that
So tell me about the speech skill thing, because in Oblivion it was a little ham-fisted.
No, that whole minigame is cut out completely. There's no minigame involved at all with speech.
So it is purely
it's a skill that you get X number of skill points each time you level up to put into whatever this list of skills you want.
It doesn't force you to have the same conversation with people over and over and over until they eventually go, oh, okay.
And when you have a speech option, it says in a little bracket there what your based on your speech skill, what your percentage of succeeding at convincing them of whatever you're saying is. Mm-hmm. So you know what your percentage chance is, and like it actually is like you can get like there's been times where I've like on a 30% chance still gotten it to succeed. So it's not like good. If it's below 50, it never happens.
And then the one thing the other speech related thing in Oblivion that drove a lot of us crazy was that the ambient speech and the conversation speech never matched up. So you'd be in an area and there was there'd be a guy and a bunch of women, and you would hear a guy's voice say something. So you would go talk to him, and he would in the scripted activated conversation would sometimes completely contradict the ambient sort of just like saying things out loud in the environment stuff. Have they kind of narrowed that down?
It seems like they've fixed that for the most part. I think part of what helps is that just because it's this post-apocalyptic wasteland, there's less people in general.
Okay.
So I mean, you're still encountering a lot of people, but it seems like there's more unique voices for the people you're encountering. And
because you would hear a guard talking, like you'd be on a particularly on the thieves quest when you're in a city, you'd hear a guard saying, "Oh, I heard that this guy just had this trouble with so and so," and you're like, "Oh, great, okay, I'll go talk to him, and it'll help me with this quest." And you go in, and he either acts like he knows absolutely nothing when you ask him, even though he was just talking about it, or there is no way to even activate a conversation that addresses what he was just saying.
Part of the deal with that too is like instead of having you get those quest queues through people talking around you, you have a radio that you carry with you all the time, and there's 2 different radio stations, and one of them. If you listen to one of them, this radio DJ constantly talks about like what's happening at different areas in the wasteland. So he'll give you clues about places you can go. Like he'll say, "I've been hearing rumors that in this town, like there's been giant ants attacking. So then if you want, you can like go to that town, and then that'll start a quest line involving these giant ants."
One other question. At TGS, another European told me that the dungeons are disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, there's not like
not a lot of them or something, or
well, they're not dungeons in the traditional sense, I guess, because like you go into like these abandoned subway systems and like caves and stuff.
It's more just like traversal kind of from here to there.
Exactly. Like there's some that are fairly big, but I mean, I wouldn't say that exploring them is like the highlight of the game.
Is it the full DC subway system under there? I mean, DC has like a metro system, a big, probably the best in America. I mean, like outside of New York.
I mean, there's a ton of like subway tunnels, and like that's how you get around in DC, because there will be areas that are closed off, and what you have to do is like go into the subway system, get to a different exit, and then sometimes you have to go through multiple exits to get to where you're actually going in the city, which could be annoying if you had to redo it over and over again. But it also has fast travel once you've discovered a location, like in Oblivion. So. And speaking of Fable 2 and Oblivion, in that comparison, Giancarlo, who is playing Fable 2, and actually described it to me as Oblivion for people who hated Oblivion.
Oh, there were a lot of those.
So that's the other thing, is I think like of these two, like Fable 2 is definitely the one that's going to appeal to really more mainstream gamers, which I guess is what Peter Molyneux was begging in his letter that he sent out, right?
Didn't we predict a couple of weeks ago what would do better? Didn't we say Fallout 3 would like steamroll Fable?
But I think
it's also on 3. It's on 3 platforms too.
Oh,
yeah, that helps.
That kind of helps.
I mean, I hope they both do good. They both seem like really good games, but yeah, Fallout 3 is the one that I'm more excited about and that I highly recommend.
I'm leaving for England for 2 weeks. Next week.
Ouch.
Oh no. So it's
bad timing.
It's going to arrive
and then
I'm leaving.
And then when you get back, like so many other games will be out along with it.
I'm just going to have to shut it all down. I'm sorry.
John's going off the grid.
Yeah.
Only other thing I've been playing is Unsolved Crimes for the DS, which is pretty bad.
Really?
It's not very good.
Oh.
It's basically like my girlfriend and I are really into like these DS adventure games, so we kind of just buy all of them and figure out what's good.
I had high hopes for that.
It's sort of interesting in that like unlike something like Phoenix Wright, it's not totally linear. You kind of like you put in these crime scenes and you walk around and have to figure things out. But I mean, the way you end up figuring stuff out is you explore for a while and then you're given a quiz, and if you can guess the right what the evidence says correctly, then you progress to the next crime scene or whatever, and it's not that interesting.
Are you excited about Sing's new game for DS?
Yeah, very excited.
Really interesting. Yeah.
Extremely excited
cool.
about that.
Yeah.
Although I still need to finish Hotel.
Did you try it?
I didn't try it, but everything I heard about it sounded awesome.
So it's you're seeing the same crime scene at different times,
Right, like 20 years apart.
Oh, like greatly
back in the
different times.
past and now, and you're like, you get flashbacks. Like, oh, this is like you're trying to figure out what happened back in the past. Yeah.
Oh,
So very exciting.
All right.
Should we go to news?
We should.
do it.
Let's
All right.
take a little break. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then we'll
Coming
come
up
back
in
for news.
NPDs. John Riccatello says a lot of stuff, and Xbox Experience.
This One Up podcast is brought to you by Dead Space. Take on the role of engineer Isaac Clarke aboard a stricken interstellar mining ship and battle the hideously transformed crew of necromorphs. Fight your way through a blood-curdling interactive horror experience featuring state-of-the-art graphics and effects, a panic-inducing audio system, and a truly frightening atmosphere of death and despair. Dead Space is in stores October 14th on the PS3 and Xbox 360 and October 20th on the PC. Visit deadspace.ea.com for more information.
We are back with the news, kicking off this week with the big NPD.
It's kind of a somber
news
NPD.
report. Yeah, it is. It is a little bit.
Party's
It's,
over.
It was kind of a slow month. Not a ton happening.
Although a ton did happen, but this was the first month where sales didn't go up for a long
Yeah,
time.
I think
That's
the
right.
word decline has been introduced. into the NPDs.
Since March 2006. Is that correct, Shane?
Yes, it's reflective of the global economic collapse.
I don't think that might be true, but the other thing worth keeping in mind, September last year was the month that Halo 3 was released.
Right,
so-
and that accounted for 35% of all sales.
That did
last.
kind of.
So that's 35% not here this year.
Yeah, so that might have been a part of the sales not increasing from last September.
Shane doom and gloom Bettner.
I reined him in a little bit. All right, let's see what did happen this week. Starting with hardware, Wii was on top. Big surprise.
What a shock!
By a lot.
It's
687,000 units of Wii sold in September.
That was a dramatic.
Wow.
scene.
Yeah, sorry. I couldn't control it.
I don't know where to go from there.
But I'm saying, yeah, we unaffected by the global economic collapse.
That's true. Nintendo DS also selling really well, over 500,000. 360 took increased considerably from August to 350,000 almost.
With the amazing new price drop. It now costs less than a Wii. For
What
our
games
gear.
came out?
Rock Band 2 was the big 360
Yeah.
exclusive for the month of September.
Yeah, that was the only really big exclusive. And then, I mean, we
And
did
it
have
did really
other.
well. It's like it's number 3, right?
Yeah, it was
number
number
three.
3 on the software sales. We also had Force Unleashed sold the most on the 360. And that was actually number 1 this month on the software. That sold
I ran into
610,000.
Giancarlo in the street this week, and the only thing he said to me was he put out his cigarette on the floor and stubbed it out with his foot, looked at me, and said, "I hear you liked Force Unleashed," and just walked back into the building.
That's Sean Carlo.
I mean, it's not
That's how he does
surprising that it sold. We all knew it was going to sell really
Yeah.
well marketed, and yada yada.
I
think
did like it.
I think the most troubling thing on that list is the presence of Wii Fit at number 3, 4.
Number 2.
Number 2.
518,000 units.
It's a
Dagger.
system seller.
Dagger in the heart.
Some deal was done with the devil. There was goat's blood and all kinds of stuff involved with Nintendo.
That's totally
It's
possible.
past. It's 4 million now.
And I mean,
It's-
Mario Kart Wii and Wii Play still on the list. I don't think these things are ever going to disappear. Actually, I'm really curious
People are always
because
going to need a second controller.
that's true.
Well, I think that's Sony's hope in Japan, where Little Big Planet comes with a free DualShock 3.
Yeah.
I'm really curious about
Free?
next month.
Free.
I'm really curious about October and November's sales when all these big games start coming out. If like these 3 Wii games that have been on the charts constantly, if they're going to go anywhere.
I think they'll stay.
I think
they
Wii
will.
Play will definitely stay, but I think Wii Fit might go down just because of the price point.
Well,
I think-
if Wii Fit's available, I think it'll stay.
Yeah, I think
That's a gift.
the new introduction to that list, I think Wii Music is going to
Huge.
sell,
Yeah.
and
Huge.
sell, and sell.
You're right. It's going to be 4 things now that are never going to leave the top 10.
It's going to be the way, they take the kids' books out of the book charts. They're like, oh, Harry Potter doesn't count. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, these Wii games just like sell
So many that
NPD should expand to like top 30 software sales.
Yeah. And then on the hardware side, I mean, it's worth mentioning, of course, that all of the Sony platforms were in the bottom 3: PSP, PS3, and PS2. Although PSP and PS3 didn't sell bad at all.
didn't the Batman PS2 come out in September?
It did,
Yes.
and
Right at the end, though, right?
right at the end.
Okay.
And Sony's spin was the Batman PS2 was the hottest thing going, of course.
230,000 units of the PSP and PS3 only 170,000 of the PS2. So
yeah, I mean, and the fact
even
that
with Batman,
Still not bad considering
not bad,
we're
not bad.
coming to the end of
Right.
year 8.
But the fact that we still outsold 360 and PS3 combined, it's kind of like, oh, all right, people,
We get it.
we get it.
And of course, Mercenaries 2 that debuted at number 6 on the charts, and Madden stuck around.
I mean, I think Mercenaries 2 isn't quite as strong as people might have hoped given the success of Mercs 1, but they waited so long, you know?
The interesting thing with Madden is that the PS3 version is not on here. It's the PS2 version rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, the PS2 version and also the 360 version still on there.
Yeah.
Last month, the 360 version sold 1 million, and the PS3 version was actually in second last month. So yeah, it is interesting with the
Yeah.
PS2 one.
I saw some
one
new
ahead of us.
LTDs on all three, and I think it's surprising how close they all are, actually. It's like all three platforms still have a really strong Madden base, but
And
the Wii does not.
Yeah.
They were doing some stuff with the 360 and Wii version only, like there was the breast cancer version of it, the pink, pink ribbon edition.
That's
There were
right.
like promotions around just specific SKUs.
I had forgotten about that version. I don't know.
Hey, I mean, did you see any of the retailers that were carrying it? I mean, you couldn't miss it. It was like Madden charity.
believe it. I
Like,
believe
I mean,
it.
it was like a big push.
Well, I also saw that PC games aren't tracked on that chart, but if they were, Spore would have been on there. It's sold like
Yeah, they said
600
406,000.
Yeah.
And they also said Warhammer Online 274,000.
Yeah.
People bought it.
People bought them. People
Yeah.
still buy the PC games.
All right.
I guess
should we
that's
move
it.
on?
Most of them
NPDs?
seem-
I don't know if we have anything else
Is that the
interesting to say
fire
about
and
NPDs.
brimstone people wanted for these NPDs? I don't know. Like
I don't think it was that bad.
yeah,
Like,
I think it was not a lot of surprises. I think that PS3 could have done a lot worse. I think 360.
I mean, the
could
problem
have
is
done
just
better.
that, like, and next month I think is going to be when it gets really interesting because we have so many big games coming out. It's going to be
Yeah.
interesting to see what does well.
It's going to be interesting what Little Big Planet does for the PS3.
Tony, we're going to be here in a month from now. It's going to be like, we fit, we play.
Little Big Planet number 9.
Yeah. Super Mario Galaxy.
I wish
Mario Kart.
I wish Mario Galaxy would appear on the top
If
10.
Mario Galaxy was
Yeah.
there, I would.
I don't
No,
think. I don't think.
Mario Kart's the killer one, right? That's the one.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, I mean, listeners can't see this because this is audio, but John, you are wearing a really excellent top hat right now, and I want your top hat.
I thought we were going to get through the whole show without mentioning John's
Sorry,
top hat.
my bad.
NPD's
I
done.
broke the rule.
John Riccatello, CEO of Electronic Arts, big winners in the NPD with Madden, has talked about EA killing a game or two a year.
Killing it.
Killing it. If it's not good,
Strangling it.
I
kill
read
it.
this and I had visions of Riccatello just saying, okay, new rule, we're going to kill 2 a year. Doesn't matter if they suck or not, 2 have to go. Like, it's going to be like Survivor.
Well, I mean, I think this happens. Like publishers do this. They just don't usually do it
why
with
is he-
games that
it's
are
like-
like
Why is he
announced.
trumpeting it?
It's like pruning a tree.
Yeah. All right, you're gone.
I don't-
You're
The
done.
way this
Okay,
came up
does he have a
because they
quote?
canceled
Yes,
Tiberium.
he has a
Let me
quote.
hear his quote.
Speaking with Gamasutra.com, Riccatello said, quote, "It's a perverse notion, beyond perverse, bizarre, upside down, illogical, stupid to state that we've killed a project that wasn't going to yield what we thought wasn't a high enough quality product as indicative of a problem." That's when, like, addressed with, like, why are you canceling? Is this developmental
Tiberium
trouble?
was the
Yeah,
one that were
it's in reference to Tiberium.
Yeah.
Quote, "When something's not meeting expectations, you can, of course, correct by giving it more time, more money, changing the concept, or killing the game. If you're committed to quality, you take one of those paths. If you preclude any of those paths, quality will suffer." And then this is from our story. The most surprisingly upfront bit from the interview came when he said, "EA will kill a game or two a year forever."
I don't know. I mean, honestly, like the last Command and Conquer first-person shooter wasn't really that good.
Well, it didn't come out either, did it?
That one did.
Renegade?
Yes, Renegade came out. I played it.
Oh, it did? Oh, okay. Well, it
Wasn't
made
very
such an
good.
impact. I thought it
So
had
I
been
don't-
cancelled.
I mean, I just think the way he went about that is kind of weird because games have been killed for a long time.
Right.
Nintendo famously kills games that
Star
like
Fox
Star
2.
Fox 2. But I think to trumpet it is like,
Right.
oh, we're
It's-
going to keep doing this.
It's weird to publicly state it because it's kind of assumed that at one point or another in the project development line, it's either going to make it or break it. And there's tons of stuff that we've never heard about that have been canceled. So
And the rumor on that particular game was that it was in very, very bad shape, and it had been worked on for
quite some time.
quite some time, like 4 years since the early pre-production on it or something. And it's the
Just
fact
cut
that it
your
wasn't in
losses.
presentable shape yet.
I don't
like-
know how you take the Command and Conquer style of real-time strategy game and make that into a first-person shooter. It doesn't make sense to me because like individual units in Command and Conquer are so like disposable, and like
But what's
Command and
stru-
Conquer is one of those games where you just build up a massive
I know,
army.
but what struck me as odd is you've got this universe that's been around for over 10 years that is really fleshed out in terms of characters and narrative and art style and setting and location. And it's like, and you also make first-person shooters out of the same studio. You'd think that A plus B would be
it's
pretty much of a no-brainer.
I was at TGS. I was talking to some people about publishers that have the contingencies list where they have closers who they bring in. Like Square Enix is one, and Ubisoft's another one. Where if a project's in trouble, they bring in like the closer who comes in and is like, we got to turn this thing around in 8 months.
The Gordon Ramsay of
like
houses.
and it works. I mean, that's what happened with Final Fantasy 12. It's what's happening right now with Splinter Cell.
EA has them. I mean, I've spoken to people who kind of get dropped in as this kind of like. I mean, what they tend to do is they get pretty harsh.
Always be closing.
Cut the bullshit because it's like millions and millions of dollars you're talking about. So much time. Sticking with the EA and quality, we talked about this earlier, Mirror's Edge as a possible trilogy. According to EA DICE senior producer Owen O'Brien, their upcoming first-person action game Mirror's Edge has joined the growing group of games that are planned as trilogies. Quote, O'Brien, the story we're telling at the moment is kind of a trilogy, a 3-story arc. For these first couple games, it's all about Faith. It's all about her experience in the world. And then the quote was first couple of games that led to more questioning about other games. And he says, I think there's a lot of scope to take the story in different directions or maybe tell someone else's story. I think the world we created, the city and culture and environment is almost as interesting or more interesting than any one individual story.
I mean, I think their world lends itself to a massive game where everyone's like a runner.
Well, I don't know about that. And without speaking too much in a review capacity, because now is not the time for that. But part of the allure of like the parkour and the runner is that you're doing it by yourself. Like everyone is out to get against you.
And
you're
time trials
special.
And ghosts might be enough for that, you think?
Well, missions, I think other missions and other, like there's plenty of room for other factions and corporations and other evil things. So I think that...
Do you think there's an angle they could take is to play it from the other side?
Yeah, that's definitely it. Like
where you're hunting down a runner?
Yeah, because the way they have it set up is that the cops and these runners, like there's an organization, a loose underground movement of runners. And if you have something where like the cops, in order to combat the runners, kind of incorporate that technology into their own, they'll send out like cop runners versus that could be interesting.
Because they could really like, because right now it's sort of pretty broken down. Is like there's the evil corporations and then there's the good rebel runners, and there's an opportunity to turn it on its head a little bit by making you sympathize with both sides.
Mm-hmm. There's so much to do if they keep this like city that they built as like a persistent thing, like with Burnout. I think there's so much potential there. What's the next one? EA creativity again, only this time in reference to Tim Schafer's Brutal Legend. John Riccitiello again talking with Gamasutra in reference
John
to...
John Riccitiello's everywhere
this week.
Everywhere. We've had so many stories with his name in the title that it's kind of making me sick.
When asked about Schafer's latest game, Brutal Legend, quote, I have seen it. I'm well aware of what the game is. It's a very significant creative risk. Sometimes significant creative risks end up being some of the world's best products. Spore was also a significant creative risk. So was The Sims, Portal, BioShock. But so was Grim Fandango.
I like that 3 of those that he listed were like EA products, just by chance.
I mean, so he's implying Grim Fandango was a failure?
Yeah.
Relatively poor selling, if critically acclaimed, was the little cutout there.
It was way ahead of its time. I mean...
Yeah, but I mean, it's definitely significant that he's like, yeah, but so was Grim Fandango.
So, I mean,
when they're asking him
he's
about Brutal
either
Legend,
like downplaying their interest in it and while trying to scare somebody else off.
Right.
Setting the bar low,
yeah,
maybe,
or
for expectations.
Or really isn't going to sign it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's...
But I think he mischose his words when he's like lists Grim Fandango as a failure. It's like back then when Grim Fandango came out, like the EA of today didn't exist, and like the AAA only concept didn't exist.
But even the guy, I mean, a couple of the guys that worked at Lucas back then work with me now, and when they talk about Grim Fandango, it was like he said that the culture at a lot of publishers is when a game like that happens, when something is successful, then the developer is held, the risk taker and what a fantastic vision.
A maverick.
Yeah. Maverick. But when a game like that fails, the first people that get hauled into the room are the marketing guys and the PR guys who get asked why, you didn't try harder. And it's like, in the case of Grim Fandango, the response was, look, everybody that saw it thought it was awesome.
And it is hard to market.
And it's, there wasn't really it was...
Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead. There wasn't a Hispanic market really to market to at that point, where to expand beyond, and a lot of people honestly didn't get it. I mean, like Day of the what?
I mean, I think if he'd have brought up Psychonauts, that's a much more valid comparison. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. He better.
Poor choice of words.
They should publish it.
Speaking of Maverick, Shane, was the last time you played Burnout Paradise?
That'd be about a week and a half ago.
Did you see any ads for John McCain?
When I last played it, the Obama ads were not in it yet.
You're not going to see ads for
now,
John McCain. You're going to see ads for Barack Obama. Giga Omni Media reports that the Obama campaign is paid for in-game advertising in Burnout Paradise.
Already up.
Like most television, radio, and print outlets, we accept advertising from credible political candidates. This is Holly Rockwood, Director of Corporate Communications. Like political spots on the television networks, these ads do not reflect the political policies of EA or the opinions of its development teams.
It'd be awesome if they were just attack ads against McCain.
That'd be hilarious. He wouldn't
funny.
respond, though, because McCain's not going to, because he accepted public financing, which under his own sponsored bill, McCain-Feingold, that he's limited into $84 million, I believe, in taxpayer dollars, and he's not going to spend that.
He's also very angry that Obama said he was going to take public financing and then didn't.
Mm-hmm.
That happened.
Yeah, that's true. It's mentioned here. Obama campaign opted out of it.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Political campaigns in games?
I think it's smart.
It's valid. I mean, it's ad space that's for sale.
Can I drop our obligatory Sarah Palin reference right here?
Do it.
All right. No, that was it. I mean, I'm just throwing because everybody's expecting.
I thought you were like, I was playing.
And now, ladies and gentlemen,
I was playing
Sarah
Big
Palin.
Game. I was playing Big Game Hunter 4 for 360, and she was a selectable character.
Oh, sure.
It was awesome.
Sure. And sticking with EA, this is like the EA News Hour. Spore expansions are revealed.
Ooh.
I haven't played Spore yet. I don't know if I'm going to. It's just very daunting.
Well, it's the weird thing is that my
It's
girlfriend
not,
played
once
it.
you're playing it, it's not the scope of it narrows when you start playing it.
Yeah.
Like it's not as intimidating as you think, and it builds up. The intimidating part is the space part,
Yeah.
but then you've played so much of it that its own world kind of shrinks with you.
Mm-hmm.
My girlfriend played it, and it's on my computer, and I'm sort of the same way. Like I don't know if I want to get into it right now, especially with all this stuff coming out. But the other problem is that like she played it, and like she's definitely a hardcore gamer, but not quite as hardcore as me. But she was bored with
Does she like The Sims?
I don't think she's played The Sims, but she found it pretty boring.
At one point in the game, did she find it boring?
Pretty quickly. Like
Pretty quickly?
Like the first night she was playing, she was like, "Oh, I'm making a creature. This is kind of fun. This is kind of fun. I'm getting a little. I'm gonna quit."
What are the expansions?
And then she had to like keep dragging herself back.
There are two expansions, and that might help with her. The first one's Creepy and Cute Parts Pack, which appeared on a website and then was removed, and now EA is like, oh, actually, yeah, that was right.
It appeared on like Amazon and GameStop.
And it's coming out pretty soon, November 18th. It upgrades the game with 100 new creature-creating parts focused on cute versus monstery. And the second expansion is set in the space stage of the game.
This one's much more
This is the more interesting one
Yeah.
because it's and there's a lot of. Didn't they say there's a lot of like more kind of sharing stuff and
Quoting Philip Kohler of One Up News, who wrote the story, it will include the
Sounds like a
ability
dick.
to beam your creatures down to new planets for exploring, interacting with the natives, and taking on new missions. I thought that was going to be part of the game.
What are the
it
prices?
is. I think there's just more of
Oh,
it.
okay. There's more.
Oh, okay. What's the pricing on these? Are they
They have not revealed any
declared.
pricing yet.
Because the missions in the space thing right now are essentially race X tells you to go to planet Y and do thing Z.
Yeah.
And it appears pretty open, but it's actually quite formulaic in what it's asking
Well,
you
the
to
more
do.
interesting part of this space expansion is it's going to add new adventure creators who can make your own quests.
Yeah, so literally, like, you'll be able to beam down, and you'll not just be accepting quests from the people on these planets, but it'll be quests that other people have created, and that you're taking.
Because very often it's just like, go to this planet and kill 6 of these things because they have
I can't
some
imagine
disease or something, and there's a lot of like they're glorified fetch quests.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens, but I can't imagine they'll be much more complex than that.
maybe
It'll
this
just
will-
be like hopefully with interesting text.
Yeah, maybe this lets you like create
Flavor text.
scripted events and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe this could
I would hope so, because
open it up more.
otherwise, like, you're just changing the text and you're like creating questions in Shane's version of Buzz or something.
Hey.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, it's really interesting that like I did an interview with crap, I can't remember her name now, but I did an interview with somebody, one of the Spore producers, this week to talk about that. That's up on the site right now.
Lucy Bradshaw?
Yes, that's right.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
I
Thank
mean,
you.
I think it's good these are coming out so soon though, because the sport community is big, and they'll want these things.
And the thing that she emphasized is that the reason they announced both of these together is to make sure that people know we're not just going to be releasing these parts packs. Like, there are people who want that, and some people aren't going to be into that thing because it's just adding parts, and some people are going to see it as kind of like a ripoff, like the Sims 2 stuff packs or whatever. But they wanted to make it clear that they're taking 2 separate tracks. They're going to have these parts packs coming out, but they're also going to have real expansions that really build on the game. In some
I would guess
ways.
that the parts pack would be about $20, and then the bigger
That seems like it would
expansions
be
at 30.
I'm just wondering how it impacts the whole notion of everything speaking to the Sporepedia, because if you've got stuff that's been presumably, if you don't have the parts pack, there are chunks of the Sporpedia that you're no longer able to access because there's this central resource that everything draws from.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're fragmenting that already.
And it's just going to be further because they're going to release tons of these.
I think partly what it speaks to is the fact that they are way ahead of where they thought they were going to be at this point in terms of the number of creations there. I mean, there's millions of them already, so it's not like you're going to miss out, but they are fragmenting it to, okay, now there is a subset of the Sporpedia, which is only people that have downloaded the...
Yeah. But it's gonna get so much more fragmented too because I bet they'll keep pumping these out every like 3, 4, 5 months.
Yeah,
and like there's gonna be tons of them, and it's gonna be like now for this creature you need to have this pack, this pack, and this pack.
Do you think you will need to have the creature pack to view someone else's creature?
Yeah, I think
parts?
if you've made a creature that has cute
the nozzle that's on this thing, whatever,
or the cute googly eyes because the sort of doughy Japanese creature eyes or whatever, I wouldn't be able to see it because those eyes don't exist in my version of Spore.
I think they could have made it. They could be making it to where you don't. We'll see.
So Spore had that nasty DRM incident. Far Cry 2 is going to learn some of the lessons from that. They're going to incorporate the same kind of DRM, Securom. Is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah,
Securom.
So.
Wait, I heard Far Cry 2 may have already leaked.
Yeah, it probably did. 360 version. We'll get to that. According to Ubisoft Forum Master Bukowski 113, the PC version of the upcoming FPS will contain the same digital rights management courtesy of Securom, but the difference is that you have 5 activations on 3 separate PCs. And if you uninstall the game on any of those PCs, it refunds your activation.
Oh.
That's how
they call it revoking.
That's kind of how iTunes works with iPods.
Yeah. Authorize and deauthorize?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a similar thing. And then that also includes if you upgrade your computer, you can use that system and kind of sneak around it. And then John Riccitiello, again, has opinions on DRM.
No, does he?
He does. Imagine that at the forefront of it all.
I broke your chicken leg. I'm sorry.
You broke my... Oh.
It's got a little gash in it.
Terrible chemicals are leaking out and...
Don't eat that.
Don't eat it.
Do not eat.
Ooh.
John, don't eat it.
It smells bad.
Don't. John Riccitiello is talking with Yahoo about the whole DRM thing, and he acknowledged his own dislike for such intrusive copy protection, but he also suggested that the Spore complaints were the result of a vocal minority. Quote, Riccitiello, we implemented a form of DRM, and it's something that 99.8% of users wouldn't notice. I wonder if that's an accurate data. But for the other 0.2%, it became an issue, and a number of them launched a cabal online to protest against it. Riccitiello said. But interestingly, he went on to express his own dissatisfaction for the copy protection software. I personally don't like DRM. It interrupts the user experience. We would like to get around that. But there is this problem called piracy out there.
Oh, piracy.
I think the
Sounds
sentiment
like he's speaking down a little bit
is
to some people.
He's basically right. I mean, I do agree that I think a lot of people, the kind of people that just, bought a laptop to play Spore because it runs on just about everything, are never going to notice.
Right. I mean, I said like a few weeks ago, the people who are really bitching about DRM are pirates. I really believe it because they're the people who care about that shit because they're trying to torrent and get like.
And I think it's
John Riccitiello believes that half of the people who protested were pirates. He said this again.
I think it's fine for Shane to say that because that's his profession is to have an opinion on this stuff. I'm not so sure Riccitiello should be quite so open about his sort of disdain for half the people complaining about this shit are like criminals.
And Skip, I've got a really good idea for a podcast.
Oh, yeah?
We should get a hold of John Riccitiello. We should just call him up once a week, let him say whatever he wants for half an hour. I guarantee you every video game news blogger is going to be listening closely every week.
I've already come up with the name. Hello, Riccitiello.
That's good. That's nice.
I just came up with that.
Get him on the phone immediately.
In the quote with Gamasutra, he says, additionally, he believes if given the chance to have a conversation with the protesters, they'd have gotten it. So
if he'd called them personally, they might have understood his point of view.
John Riccitiello.
I've got another idea for your podcast name. John Riccitiello.
I like that. That's even better. Philip, am I out of news? We moving on to you now?
I think, speaking of the piracy thing, we're kind of going right into another issue, which Shane, you kind of brought up there. Fallout 3 has already been pirated on the 360, not the PC. Less than 24 hours after it was announced that the game had gone gold, a number of torrent sites started showing copies of the game for download. Gamasutra theorizes that the leak might have come from the manufacturing plant, but some comments on the story said they're listed as review copies, so they could have come from somewhere else. And then in addition to that, Skip, you said you found out that Fable 2 and Far Cry 2 on the 360 also leaked.
I was reading a popular message board this afternoon, and someone had noticed that the torrent sites were listing some new new arrivals.
The thing that
message board,
a popular message
popular
board.
internet
boards.oneup.com. So the thing that I found really fascinating about this story is I was paying attention to the comments after the story went up on our site. And normally when we do a story about piracy, we get two types of comments. We get people who are bitching about piracy, like saying how it's awful and everything and it's ruining our industry. And then we get people saying that PC gaming is dead. And of course, this wasn't about PC piracy, so that made a difference. So that crowd was kind of out.
So you're saying our news commentators can't really read?
No, but that one was out. Like I said, that one was out of this one. So, but this one we had the people who were bitching about piracy, but then we also had a lot of people who were like, I think this is awesome. I'm going to go get Fallout 3 right now and get my 360 modded because I want to play it right away. And it was really bizarre to me. And like there were these people who were saying like, why is this a bad thing? Why are you guys all complaining about this? I was like, Anyways, I just thought that was a really fascinating.
Their accounts have been flagged for review.
And Xbox 360 is dead.
These people know we have their email address and IP information and all that kind of stuff, right?
And if they put in their hometown.
There was one. There were at least like one or two comments I saw where it was people like, I already have been playing it. And I'm like, old news. Don't say that.
Well, it would suck if it actually leaked because of a review copy. Because Bethesda has been notoriously strict with that with us. I will say it was frustrating, but it kind of justifies it now.
I was surprised when I heard they were sending out review copies. Because a lot of like the AAA games now, you go there and play them.
I can remember with Oblivion, the fuss we had to go through to get a copy before it came out.
It was
Darren was waiting on a Saturday to get a copy, and they just sent him like the strategy guide, and he had to wait another 2 days. Yeah, it was a mess.
I could review it based off a strategy guide.
This part looks awesome. Can't wait to do this.
Commenting on some of the piracy problems, Bethesda's Pete Hines said they spend a ludicrous amount of money on pirates. He says the amount of money we spend, kind of speaking generally about the game industry, I think he said the amount of money we spend supporting people who didn't pay us for the game in the first place is effing ridiculous. We talked to other developers, guys who are like, yeah, it's a third, it's 50% of our customer support. So he's saying other developers in the industry are estimating that 50% of the people calling in with problems for their games didn't even buy a real version of it.
Which is probably why it's not working very well.
He kind of went on to say that Bethesda understands that consumers want to simply put in a game for the PC version and start playing it, but says there has to be some level of protection so that people aren't just randomly pirating. And so he basically said there's going to be protection on the PC version, but I don't think it's the PC version they have to worry about. Apparently. So,
I mean, one of the things, they all the way back to Windows 95, there was this idea of PC games playing like console games, and they've never done. They stick it in the tray and it just loads like a console game.
Isn't that supposed to be something in Vista now?
Right, but surely the copy protection on that, as in you need the physical disk to run the damn thing in the first place, is a giant leap. I mean, I know running off the hard drive is faster, but we got to a point with Blu-ray on PS3 and it using the hard drive just to cache the important stuff or whatever, that there's still something physical involved. I mean, there is a problem in the PC market where increasingly people are moving to download, which is making it difficult. But they made a choice with the way that you engage with a PC game, and that has to be partly responsible for the path that it's gone down. And that the copy protection, all the way back, the original PlayStation, remember the PlayStation discs were black, and there was a special manufacturing process, and they had that thing on Sector 1 on the disc that, was the proprietary thing.
That's why we would swap for pirates. You would swap trick.
Or importers.
There were physical things you had to do, but the fact that it's like, okay, you put the disc in, and once you're done with the disc, you don't need it anymore. I would much rather leave the disc in the damn drive than have to go through all the bullshit that you have to with some of these things.
That's true. I don't know. I guess
Philip's like, I haven't played a PC game for 10
No, I just bought a new PC.
John's like, I want Code Wheels back.
Oh yeah,
I want a Code Wheels.
The Monkey Island Code Wheel.
I want a red runes print on black paper.
I think we should have Code Wheels for console games.
I remember those with the red thing you had to get the secret code.
Yeah,
precisely.
We should have those for console games. Like, you just can't start it until you use it.
Turn to page 17 of the manual. What is the 14th word?
Yes. Oh, memories flooding
back.
Memories. Shane, you went to TGS last week.
When
you were going into TGS, did you expect that the most news out of all the three console manufacturers would be coming from Microsoft out of TGS?
They were giving the keynote, so yeah, actually I was.
I was surprised.
And Nintendo
I
had
guess.
blown their load the week earlier.
That's true. I was still surprised, but
I did not expect 99 Nights 2.
Are you excited about it?
More excited than I was about part 1.
So no.
Interesting.
I don't know, I like Lost Odyssey.
One of the big Microsoft stories coming out of TGS was finally we have a release date for the new Xbox experience, the big upgrade to their dashboard that's going to be coming now on November 19th.
Which allegedly may also be the same day as Home.
Oh, really?
Go figure.
Really?
Go figure. Yeah, that's what people are saying. Anyway.
All right, that would definitely be interesting. One of the issues that I've heard people kind of bringing up is that it's really the timing for this is really close to the holidays, and also it's really close to a lot of big games coming out for the 360, like big multiplayer games. You have Call of Duty is going to be near that time. You have Gears of War just before that. So if there is any problems with this, if this messes up like at all, or like it shuts down live for a while,
what could possibly go wrong?
They've had problems with previous updates.
They did that prepping update a while ago to get ready for it.
There were no hiccups with that.
What about all these arcade users who are buying their consoles for cheap?
Well, they're going to be getting a little bit of an upgrade, actually, from the sounds of it. Eligible Xbox 360 core owners can either get a free 512 megabyte memory card or a refurbished 20 gigabyte hard drive for $19.99, while arcade owners are eligible for the refurbished 20 gig hard drive and 3 months of Xbox Live for $29.99. Basically, Microsoft is giving them discounts to make sure that they can actually download the thing, because otherwise it's too big to fit on their system because it requires 128 megabytes of free space.
Can people get that stuff at retail, or is it like a website they go to?
I think you have to go to some website.
There's some sort of website.
If right now you're a core user and you want to download the Xbox experience,
yeah, you actually
what do you do?
I believe you go to Xbox.com. You have to get your serial number and everything, and I'm sure if you go to the site, they have somewhere where you can click and get like, where do you find your serial number and where do you get all this information? And I'm sure you probably have to put in like your gamer tag and such.
I would start looking into that now.
But like, what if you what if you don't want the new Xbox experience? Is that an option for people who don't want it? For people who never go to the dashboard, people who just put discs in? There are people like that where I'm from.
Possibly.
But
I guess if you never connect to the internet, you
don't need it.
Download it.
Yeah.
Yeah. For like the low level, very light user Walmart
I think
experience.
that user's probably not even going to connect to live to begin with. What do you guys know the percentage? I was just talking about this with someone the other day, but I think the percentage is still like barely above half or something for number of 360 owners who actually connect to live.
I think you'd be surprised at the people who think very differently about their consoles.
Yeah, no, exactly, and it's boggling for like us to think about, but I think it's pretty normal for some people.
Speaking of home, did you see the Far Cry promo that they're doing in the home beta right now?
I heard about it, but I didn't see it.
I saw a screenshot of it.
You walk into the Far Cry area, and the home environment becomes the Far Cry. So you're walking around one of the African villages in Far Cry with the home UI and your home avatar, and it's the actual textures and everything from the game, and
it's
like the holodeck.
It's like It's like, I mean, I knew they were talking about doing that, but it's like, when you see it, it's like, okay, this is kind of interesting.
At TGS, I mean, Sony had very little to show, but one of the things they showed were the home environments for Street Fighter, Gran Turismo, Hot Shots Golf, and another third-party game, White Knight Chronicle.
Were they all like that in their own like art style? Or was
they were all different and unique, and yeah, I
think it's a really cool idea to be able to this sort of frozen moment in time from a game, and you get to go walk around in it and kind of peek under things. And
isn't Uncharted's bar like that?
It's like that as well. Yeah.
Also coming from Tokyo Game Show from Microsoft, we had Xbox Live corporate vice president John Schappert said that Microsoft might start moving away from the schedule of spring and fall 360 updates that they've been sticking to. He says, I like staying focused on bigger and more impactful releases, so maybe it will be twice a year, maybe less frequently.
Well, isn't part of the deal with the new Xbox experience is that it's got more hooks into live, and they can push at any point now?
Smaller stuff when it's
done. So like live updates, kind of more like a computer system update where it'll just say, hey, we just upgraded this thing, and there you go.
That sounds accurate to me. I don't know, but I just like that he used the word impactful. Impactful.
You're enjoying that.
Think about it.
You're really wrapping your lips around that.
Impactful. I don't like that word. I don't think it actually exists, to be honest.
Like T-Plane.
There's also some big updates coming for the PSP and PS3, of course.
I'm a big fan of the new PS3. I could watch Hulu on my TV now.
Really? 2.5 added Flash 9, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
So the upcoming firmware 5.0 update for the PSP, as well as the 2.5 for the PS3. The PSP one is going to basically the 5.0 update for the PSP allows you to access the PlayStation Store
Directly
on your PSP.
I have a request
Wi-Fi.
for 5.01 immediately.
Yes.
I hadn't plugged my PSP in for a while, so the battery was flat. So I plugged it in to its charger, downloaded the thing, went to install the thing, and it told me, you can't install this because your battery doesn't have any juice in it. And I'm like, but it's plugged in.
That's happened to me before
Yeah.
in an earlier revision.
You can detect that it's plugged in because there are other instances where it'll say, we won't do this until you plug the power in. It's like, I don't think it's a really big deal. It's just one of those niggly little fucking Sony things that they just missed. And it's like, you got all this awesome stuff in there, and this is where you get hung up? Like, my PSP is still sat on my desk, not upgraded to version 5, because the battery was flat. It's absurd. But PS3, like, the first thing I did, downloaded it, and actually it's a very fast update. Including it now has a thing in there, I don't know if it's been doing this for a while, but it now asks you when you're installing
If you want to turn it
if
off.
you want to turn it off when it's done.
Oh, that's
you
new.
could leave your house.
That's
Yeah.
a new thing.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did was I mean, the browser is still a little janky, and so it supports Flash 9, but it doesn't support some of the ways that Flash would normally interact with the browser. So I don't know if you use Hulu very much.
A little bit.
So
yeah.
I use it.
there's that black strip across the middle of the screen. There's the video window in the middle, and then there's 3 buttons either side, and there's full screen and dim the lights. And so the full screen thing on your PC pops another window that's just the Hulu window. That doesn't work at all on the PS3 version.
Okay.
And also anything that in terms of browser functionality is going to make the window bigger doesn't work. In fact, if you go to there's another button for like a larger size.
Yeah.
It actually makes it smaller.
That's disappointing because I hooked up my computer to my TV with some very long cables, and I was trying to watch Hulu, and the full screen stuff wouldn't work for me on my PC, so I was hoping that PS3
So
would
this is
fix
how you
that.
do it on the PS3, in that you don't rely on the browser, you rely on the PS3 itself.
Oh, okay.
So what it's running in that window is the full resolution, and all the full screen thing does is it ups the resolution. I mean, it doubles up the pixels, so you're just getting a chunkier version of it. So instead of chunking it up by the browser blowing it out, what you do is you use the PS3 browser to zoom in on the window, because it has because what it does is it maps everything onto a polygon and lets you scale it accordingly. So you just zoom the entire thing to full screen, and you can get you can run 480p in that Hulu central window. So when you zoom in on that, it's as good as watching something recorded standard def, decent quality on your TiVo.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not high def by any stretch of the imagination,
but
but
you're
it's
not
very
into
good
that,
quality.
Yeah, you're streaming it.
And you're streaming it, and it's free, and it's watching Hulu on your television instead of on your computer. And it's like, I've been wanting that for a long time, and it's awesome.
That is awesome. Some of the other updates that came with 2.50, you can redeem codes easier now. There's going to be a button on the main page of the PlayStation Store. Previously, you had to go into menus
Account
for
management.
account management. It always was confusing. But for us who redeem codes often, I guess we always do. But maybe
Beta codes are always like that.
beta
too.
codes.
People
yeah.
were very confused about how to do that.
Yeah, that's right. Similar to the 360, it's going to be easier to compare trophy collections now. Hopefully, it will load faster. I know that's the problem I've always had. Is I'll look at my friends list and compare trophies, and it takes 3 minutes to load. It's ridiculous. The scrolling news ticker will include hyperlinks directly to the stories, automatic system and controller shutoff options that you mentioned, and a screenshot feature. It lets you take a screen capture anytime while playing your PS3 and save it to the hard drive.
But only if the game supports it, I believe. It's not like a universal thing. I think I read that somewhere.
But you can take them and make them wallpapers, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. And that's it.
That's part one
Part
of the
one.
news.
One of the news.
Oh my God, that's just part
That
one.
To be
part one.
continued.
TBD.
John, it's like we haven't done the show in 3 or 4 weeks, and we missed out on so much stuff. So we'll be back after this very short break. It'll be shorter for you than it is for us. More news, including StarCraft 2 trilogy. That's the big fight. We're gonna
argue this one. for a
more
while.
BlizzCon stuff, more Half-Life stuff, and we'll be back. We have tons of news, and we're adding more. John Davison with some breaking news, kind of.
Just because I didn't think we had enough today. So I don't know if anyone has been following we were talking about EA earlier on, and EA LA. Well, Neil Young, who used to run the LA studio, left to form a new company called NG Moko, which got bunch of news maybe 3 months ago. Well, their first 3 games, the name of one I can't remember, but it has the word maze in it. But the 2 more interesting ones are, there's one called Toppler, which is for iPhone and iPod Touch, which is kind of like, imagine Tetris pieces with cartoon faces falling from the sky, and instead of them being arranged like traditional Tetris pieces, you have to lock them together to form a tower, and you catch them by tilting the device to catch it, and then as they lock together, the tower gets taller, obviously, and there's physics on it, and the tower starts to sway. So as the taller it gets, you're also countering the sway with the device while trying to catch things. That's apparently out this month. And then there's another game called Rolando, which was getting some attention a while ago.
It's a song.
Oh, it's wonderful.
You ever heard that song?
Kind of a song.
Rolando. Anyway, go on.
Rolando, I think, will be interesting to a lot of people because it looks a little bit like Loco Roco. It has that kind of very 2D cartoony art style. And again, there's a lot of... You interact with the environment rather than the creatures. So... remember when we were originally looking at Loco Roco and wondering if there would be a tilt sensor on the PSP? It's that kind of idea, but you're like letting the things drop into pieces of the environment and then like twisting them around with your finger and stuff. And so this is also this month as well. So I think, it's like this NJ Moco. I mean, they've put together these games in, 2 or 3 releases, and that's more than EA LA have ever put out, right? And I think that, we're starting to see, I think, the next tier up of grade of developers starting to look at the iPhone as a
these
platform
aren't just the
now.
quickie cash-ins.
These are
They thought about the platform.
I need more games on my iPhone. All I have is Blackjack.
You haven't got Scrabble?
No.
Scrabble on iPhone's awesome.
Something about Scrabble, I just never got it.
And we know how Philip Kohler feels about Scrabble. Seeing as he played it as a sport at school, apparently.
No, that wasn't me. That was
Nick Sutton, wasn't it?
That was Nick Sutton.
That was Nick.
Like, I like Scrabble, but I don't like people who know all the 2-letter words, and he's one of them.
They don't have real
Yeah,
sports.
that is
they,
annoying. You're right.
Yeah.
They have no
It's
real
annoying.
sports where he's from.
All you need is
sad.
Qua. That's the one to remember.
It's a good one.
All right. Starting off with our main event here, StarCraft 2 was announced as a trilogy of sorts.
Oh, what a great
trilogy
what an upgrade.
of
Oh, I'm
bullshit.
so excited. I get to buy... Wait a
I am
minute.
excited.
John and Shane get 2 minutes,
I am
and then we
Okay.
rebut.
Like, because they tell you better be glad you're getting this or you wouldn't be getting nothing at all next year. Right?
Hold on, is that a direct quote?
I think it's something like that, isn't it?
So
is that Rob Pardo?
let's get this. So instead of
Yeah, details first. Instead of one big package of StarCraft 2 with
The way
3
StarCraft 1 was released.
Hold on, I'm talking. I have the floor. Let's do this debate style, like parliamentary debate style. StarCraft 2 is going to ship first with a Terran campaign only. It's called Terran Wings of Liberty. You will get multiplayer, but you will only get the Terran campaign. You'll get 26 to 30 missions of a Terran campaign, though. So it's not like 8 to 10 or something like StarCraft was. Was that about right? Like
StarCraft was about 10 per race, so like
10 per
30
race.
total. So you're still getting the same number of single-player missions.
Following suit at some indeterminate time, and then there'll be more room for debate for that later. Zerg follows with Heart of the Swarm, and Protoss follows with Legacy of the Void. Each of these will be 26 to 30 missions, fully fleshed out as a campaign.
and $60, I'm sure.
We don't know that.
They haven't
yet.
said pricing.
They have not set pricing.
Also, it's a PC game, so 50. Just
Well,
saying.
that's okay then.
Okay,
saying.
John and Shane, go.
It smacks of, hey, this game could easily be carved up into 3 pieces, so we can make $150.
Right, and when StarCraft came out, part of the appeal was that it had 3 races that played differently. You can tackle this in 3 different ways from the outset. And, like the idea that, we're giving you one campaign that's 3 times as long. Okay, maybe if your story is really good, you have tons of great cutscenes, and like the amount of effort going into this, you just physically couldn't have finished all those cutscenes. I don't know. I think it just seems like a way to sell more box copies.
John, you say easily broken up into 3 different things. It doesn't sound like it's easy. It sounds like they're doing like full campaigns for each of these.
No, I'm
things.
talking conceptually. It's an easy sell.
Oh.
It's like, we have this game that has always been in 3 parts. So let's release it in 3 parts.
I can see that, but I don't see how it's like a big crime that they're doing this.
I think part of the deal too that makes it more interesting for me. I mean, for one thing, like, and I might be not in the majority here. I know a lot of people love StarCraft multiplayer. It's really huge. But the reason that I was way into StarCraft was the story. Like, I think the story in StarCraft is really fascinating. It's got some of the best video game characters ever. So I'm really psyched to see it continue. And knowing that it's going to continue, instead of just 30 missions, there's going to be like, over the course of the next 3-4 years, however long it takes for all of these to come out, there's going to be 90 missions. That's really exciting to me. I don't know.
Just that. Putting all 3 in one box doesn't mean you can't do expansion packs, more story down the road.
But they're kind of considering these as semi-expansion packs. They're kind of using that terminology.
I just think it's going against the nature of the franchise. Wasn't the first Warcraft called like Warcraft Orcs and Elves? Now it'd be like Warcraft just Orcs.
I'm fine with that. The other part too is that the campaign they made it sound like the campaigns might be structured differently as well. Like with the Terran one, one of the things they've been pimping a lot in previews and such as they've revealed StarCraft 2 is that it's going to have like multiple paths. It's going to be a little bit open-ended, and you can choose which area you want to go to next, and it might like shape the story in different ways. And it sounds like they're going to do that for the Terran one specifically now, but they might do it differently for the other. So they might do it like the Zerg. It might be different because like the Zerg is controlled by a hive mind, so maybe it's more linear. Or there's like different ways in which it branches off, other than being able to choose your own path.
I think part of what we're responding to is they announced StarCraft 2.
Right.
And then it's the strategy has sort of changed into like, okay, now it's 3 different StarCraft games, potentially. I mean, I think for me, I was expecting, more StarCraft.
You are getting more StarCraft.
I know, but it does...
Even more.
Well, it strikes me as...
3 times as more.
Right, but it strikes me as opportunistic, and I think particularly what we've heard from Activision lately in their sort of in quite unashamed proclamations of, we are going to keep banging out the popular stuff over and over and over and over and over, and kind of force you down this path of repeat buy.
And I would also say StarCraft 2, I think, everybody's excited, but it's a fairly conservative game in terms of the game design. It's a lot like StarCraft 1. It isn't blowing anybody away with its visuals or things they're adding. And they're already kind of taking things away from what you expect of the original product. Like, they're lowering your expectations of what the feature set should be, in a way.
But they're giving you, like, lots more.
But they're making you pay for it. They're not giving you anything here. It's not like...
Well, they're providing...
Maybe if they
more.
surprise us and say, hey, instead of it being, one $50 game, it's 3 $25 games.
Well, I think the most likely thing is especially because there are going to be like, they said that it's going to be like years between.
Yeah,
these,
well,
right?
let's talk about the timing and the pricing. Let's talk about the pricing first. Rob Pardo talking with, I believe, Joystick. Quick to explain that the pricing will depend on how much content is in each release. Quote, we would do the retail price based on that value that we're putting in the box. So if the value in the box is less than the original, then we're going to price it like that. We're not just trying to get people to pay full price for something that's less. If the follow-ups end up having the feature set of an expansion, then that's how they'll get priced.
So the multiplayer is all 3 races?
Yeah. Multiplayer is all 3 races, but they said that the expansion packs or the follow-up packs or whatever would possibly include new units in multiplayer as well.
Okay.
You'd expect that almost.
Yeah, you'd expect
but
that.
The other thing is, I'm not a big StarCraft guy, but my friends, I remember them really liking the Zerg, really liking the Protoss, and nobody being that excited about the people. And like here, all you have is the Terrans. Right?
So, I mean, does this imply that... To start with, the narrative... I mean, yeah, it does imply that the narrative is focused on the Terrans.
Yeah, well, it sounds like
for the first part.
Yeah, if they have subtitles for the ones already decided on, it sounds like they got a pretty good idea of what they want to do.
Yeah, I'm sure that the story is at least somewhat plotted out at this point. And they have said it is like... I mean, like they said, each campaign is going to be its own self-contained story, but that all of them together are telling this big epic story, linear story in the StarCraft universe. So... the campaigns do lead into one another.
It's just a matter of how long you're going to have to wait in between. And
that's how it was with StarCraft as well. With just the 3 separate campaigns in StarCraft was each one led into each other in a linear fashion. It wasn't like some RTS games where you play the one side and that's the story of that side winning, and then the other side is the story of that side winning.
MTV Multiplayer had an interview with lead producer Chris Sigety. I hope I pronounced that right. With Warcraft 3, we hit a year for the expansion. We'd love to do that for StarCraft 2, but honestly, with how story mode goes and with the pre-rendered in-game cinematics, I don't know how long it's going to take, so it's hard to answer that question. We want to hit the shortest amount of time possible, blah, blah, blah. It's done when it's done, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember whose podcast this was. This might have been Jeff before he left, but there was somebody recently on one of the one-up shows had said that each generation, the tolerances of the audience get tested, and the following generation then it capitalizes on that in terms of ways of extracting additional money, because Gaming Goes the two conflicting arguments. As gaming is more mainstream, it should be cheaper. But as production values are, increasing, then the cost of making a game gets more expensive. So they need to find different ways of extracting their cash from you. And it's, expansion packs turned into downloadable content and microtransactions and
timed exclusives and
timed exclusives.
We have more stories on that coming up.
But
too.
I think now what we're finding is, we have this thing that we could make it, it's essentially, it's the episodic argument, or it's applying some of the lessons learned from the way that they've been doling out content with World of Warcraft, is that you get to essentially have one product that you launch, you do a complete launch on 3 times in this case. And ultimately it is. We have one idea and we're going to hit you with it 3 times. And sure,
it's not even an original idea.
Right. In aggregate, it's larger. But the way this has been rolled out, it struck me, is that it wasn't originally conceived this way.
I wish you had the quote, because I read a quote that is like, paraphrasing, like, be glad, we had to do this or else you wouldn't be getting anything next year. I saw a quote like that.
Theoretically, if they're saying that it's going to take 3, if it's going to take 1 or 2 years between these releases, then yeah, like if they wanted to do them all together, it was going to be like at least 3 or 4 years before we got the full game.
Do you think that people are just like, Blizzard is on this pedestal and they can do no wrong, but like, really, is it that fucking hard to make another StarCraft? I mean, really, you make money hand over fist. You're the most successful company in the world. And like, people just give this wide berth, like, oh, of course it's going to take 3 years for you to make it Zerg.
I can't argue too much with you on that, because it does take a really long time.
And that's just how, like, that's the thing, is like Blizzard fans, it's not just because they're on a pedestal, it's because Blizzard fans are just used to that, because that's how it's always been with Blizzard. It takes forever for anything to come out from them. There's always delays. It's sort of like Valve, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, for me, I guess it just comes down to the fact that, like, if this was just like a Terran campaign with like 10 missions, like in the original Terran campaign in StarCraft, then I would be upset. But because it's like 30 missions and it's like you have the full multiplayer, etc., like, then I'm okay with that.
Another comment that raised eyebrows at BlizzCon was from Rob Pardo, again, of Blizzard, talking about Battle.net being possibly monetized. It's talking with Joystick. This originally happened at a panel for Diablo 3, and the lead designer of the game, Jay Wilson, said, "We are looking to monetize Battle.net so that we get to keep making these games and updating features." That kind of, you could draw any sort of conclusion from that. Like, oh my God, I have to pay to play on Battle.net now?
Or
not exactly.
It could just be ads.
It could just be ads. It could be something else. Rob Pardo says to Joystick, to clear it up, "With Battle.net, we are definitely looking at possible different features that we might be able to do for additional money. We're not talking about Hellgate or anything like that," which was the big scare that everyone was like, oh my God, like, we're not going to get the full game unless we pay money for it. We're not going to tack things on. I think World of Warcraft is a great example to look at. We charge people if they want to switch servers or if they want a name change, things that aren't core to the game experience. They're really just optional things that some people want. It takes development work to do it, so it makes sense to charge for it. We would never do something like, say, get to the full game experience, you have to pay extra.
Yeah,
like Hellgate.
And what's interesting too is like they're talking about doing this in order to fund like additional content and stuff. But then you think like back in Diablo 2, they released a lot of really big like patches and additional content and stuff, and they weren't monetizing Battle.net back then.
Mm-hmm. It's like what John just finished telling us, that creating new revenue streams, is kind of essential. And then along similar lines, again at BlizzCon, Blizzard president Mike Morhaime, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Talking about
Sounds
Diablo
right.
3 possibly coming to consoles. And we talked about this a little bit. Like, Diablo 3 was probably the most logical one.
Hadn't they like denied this outright previously, or was it only StarCraft that they denied outright?
I think they might have only denied StarCraft. Okay. Speaking with Shack News in an interview, this is Morhaime. Every game we have the discussion about which platforms make the most sense. As Diablo 3 takes shape, I think we'll do an evaluation. I think there's a pretty good argument to be made that the type of game might work very well on consoles. There might be some technical limitations, though, we might need to get past. So it's very, very possible, it sounds like, if they can do it. And I really don't see why not.
The gameplay certainly lends itself to console.
Mm-hmm.
It's more centrally focused than anything else. So
you can certainly sell a lot better on consoles. If it's on everything. There's no reason it couldn't be.
In competition with Blizzard news, BioWare and LucasArts have announced that they're announcing something.
There's no
on Tuesday.
There's no mystery about this.
This is a mystery game. It's totally out of the blue. We had no idea this was coming. What could they possibly be working on?
Well, the invite has a picture of a Sith temple on it. So,
They've already
What's a Sith?
Didn't they already admit that they are doing the Star Wars MMO or
No,
whatever?
John, but believe it or not, John Riccatelli already told you.
All right, see.
It's specifically Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just Star Wars.
Well, speculation is this is going to be called Star Wars Old Republic. That's what all the MMO like kind of hardcore are anticipating.
Do you expect it to be console or just PC?
Just PC. Well, it's PC to start with, probably.
I like that title. That
I wouldn't be surprised if it was. I wouldn't be surprised if it was console and PC.
I think KOTOR is mainly a console franchise.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was both.
Then again, launching an MMO on both is kind of dangerous and difficult.
I wonder if it really is going to be an MMO or if it's just going to be an online game with a very broad scope. You know what I mean?
Maybe it's like Monster
perhaps
Hunter.
not as
Maybe it's just four-member parties.
Yeah. A large persistent world that's essentially just instances rather than like everybody questing together.
Jedi Hunter. Will you hunt Wookiees with me?
We'll know next week.
Hey.
Jedi Hunter.
Jedi Hunter. Free idea. But this is just assuming that it's a KOTOR MMO. We really have no idea what it could possibly be.
No clue.
We talked about Warhammer sales and the NPDs. I was wondering why the numbers weren't lining up, and I'm probably missing something obvious.
Yeah.
Warhammer sold like 274,000 in NPDs. And then Mythic has announced...
This is worldwide, right?
Oh, must be.
Yeah.
Warhammer Online pulling in 750,000 subscribers.
I'm sure there's a big European base.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Let's forget about Europe.
I would add a for now at the end of that.
For now, yes. We will see what the line graph does on November, 12th?
Something like that.
Like that.
That's when.
But in any case, congratulations to Mythic. People seem to be really enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see. Is it my turn again?
I can take over if you want.
No, wait. Yeah, it's me.
I got some news.
I ordered these in a very specific manner.
That's right.
I tried to emulate Garnet as much as I can in the important ways.
What does that mean?
Draw your own conclusions. I'm here. Kaz Hirai, chief of Sony, says the game business will withstand Shane.
A global economic
economic meltdown catastrophe.
Well, that's
He's not the only one. Michael Pachter says it will too.
Good to hear that gaming will not be extinct by this.
Speaking to the Financial Times, Hirai speculated that the gaming industry will do particularly well, relatively speaking, during this financial crisis. Quote, as long as we can generate excitement, then we will be less affected than other industries, end quote. That's a good quote. Hirai said that while explaining that people might be more likely to buy cheap home entertainment rather than going out to spend money, I might take issue with calling it cheap home entertainment.
Particularly when they've also said that they're not dropping the price of the PS3.
That was the next thing in our news story.
It's all going to be fine, so we're not bothering dropping the price. You'll be all right. Don't worry about it.
Hirai reconfirmed that the PlayStation 3 will not receive another price cut before the end of the year. And this quote's pretty funny. The answer is yes, if you're asking, are these prices are the ones that we're going with this Christmas?
Wow. One thing that David Ellis pointed out that I thought was really interesting relating to this is he said that, if he was a parent who is having financial problems, he would be buying video games for his kids, like giving them video games so that they can not think about the financial problems.
Yeah, but I'd probably be buying them PlayStation 2 games.
No, absolutely. Probably not PS3.
But I would say this year games like Spore and WoW and Little Big Planet, those kind of games that keep on giving, keep on playing. You buy your kid one game, it's good for 6 months.
Get them into sports games.
Games.
Keep on giving.
Games.
The Burnouts, the Warhawks,
or I'd
stuff.
Get them a subscription to GameFly. I mean, $12. You can play a game a week.
There you go. Hideo Kojima says that Japan has lost the war or something compared to Western games.
Or something.
This is very dramatic and very, very important sounding. Quotes Kojima via Famitsu. If you honestly compare Japanese games with Western ones, Japan has lost. He compared the Western games industry to Hollywood, where they bring the best creators together and give them huge budgets, and he called the current disparity between East and West very dangerous.
It's true. I mean, this year TGS, the story out of it was him and Wada, the president of Square Enix, also the president of the CESA over there. Yeah, basically, we kind of screwed up. We didn't invest quickly enough, and we're still playing catch up. And
it's very doom and gloom sounding over there.
Well, I mean, it's just they're slowly catching up. But if you think about it, MGS4 is one of the only big budget games to come out of Japan in the last few years, and they got to spend money to make money, and you can't just put out little old fashioned games.
Was Ninja Gaiden 2 not good enough for you?
Not really. It was all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Japan's still catching up. They're realizing it now.
How long is it going to take for them to catch up? Is it by the time they catch up, is it time for new systems again?
I think FF13 is the next thing from them. But
that's one game.
A lot of it depends on Sony. Because Nintendo isn't interested in making big budget games. They're definitely not gone down that road. So there aren't that many publishers and developers who can afford to invest the money required to make big games. So I mean, you see things like Tecmo, like their Gears of War style game that at least looks like a Western game, but
Resident Evil. Can't discount that.
Yeah, I mean, Capcom's
really
managed
good.
to survive fairly well, but
Stop eating the chicken leg.
that's troubling. But yeah, like Japan definitely still figuring it out.
We should give this away as a contest prize.
Should.
A slightly soiled rubber chicken leg.
Moderately used.
To the biggest Golden Axe Beast Rider fan who writes it.
Yeah.
So prominent Eastern developer going to prominent Western developer Doug Lombardi from Valve says that they are reevaluating PlayStation 3 development in lieu of the recent success. That's an interesting take on that too.
This is very quick from the we're not doing PS3 stuff. Which was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
right?
that was like 2 weeks ago from our interview with them.
Speaking to CVG, I think that's Computer and Video Games.
Yeah.
He says that Valve is reevaluating for what it is. So whether or not you like developing for that platform, if they've got millions of people connected to that platform and buying their games, you have to take it seriously.
So maybe they will do a Team Fortress 2 update after all.
But Left 4 Dead's still not coming to the PS3, as far as we know.
But in the same story, using that same logic Lombardi said about Wii development, if we were going for the Wii, we'd have to go for a whole new game that's designed for the platform. Additionally, he noted that the development for the Wii is an expensive proposition and riskier than just getting some good PS3 developers on board. So that's weird.
But that's
developing for Wii is super expensive.
Doug Lombardi, you don't know,
PS3.
you can just port Flash games to Wii.
See, but that's the thing is like it's good that he's realizing that because otherwise you get stuff like the Brothers in Arms game that they just released for the Wii alongside the new one.
Yeah, he
which
does
is
have
like
a point
it's a
there.
port of the old Brothers in Arms games, both of them, and apparently it's an awful port, like really bad.
If you're going Wii, you gotta go original.
Yeah,
Especially if you're comparing ports and stuff.
yeah.
Portal would work great on the Wii.
Mm-hmm. No, maybe not. No,
Too expensive.
too expensive.
Huh.
Speaking of long waits for very popular PC games, a story cropped up about Half-Life 2 Episode 3 not coming for quite a while still.
Wait, I just had deja vu from the future where it's like StarCraft 2 Episode 3 pushed back to 2014.
Yep.
People still patiently waiting, willing to pay $70.
That's true.
In an
it's going to
interview-
happen.
In an interview with Kokizo.com recently mentioned, Doug Lombardi said, "The next time you play as Gordon will be longer than the distance between Half-Life 2 to Episode 1 and Episode 1 to Episode 2.
And what
That
Andrew
set off a
pointed out-
firestorm.
Andrew pointed this out before we recorded when we were talking about this a little bit. What I hadn't realized was it already has been 12 months since Episode 2. So I mean it's maybe not as bad as I was thinking.
That came out in an follow-up interview with Shack News that they did with Lombardi, and he said, Lombardi, quote, "I was mentioning that the gap between the releases will be longer. Obviously, they almost already have been. And the reason that it might take a little longer is because they're really interested about making Half-Life 3 more significant than the previous two episodes, because it's going to be the finale of this
At what
episodic
point does
experiment.
serialized gaming become randomly occurring gaming?
They've already admitted
that's
that.
already happened.
They've already
Long.
admitted that using the word episodic was the wrong thing to do. They just didn't know
they
it at
ended
the
up being
time.
just sort of micro sequels.
Put them all together and you have a pretty good Half-Life 3 or Half-Life 2.5,
Yeah.
I think, because they're excellent games.
Yeah,
But they're just kind of smaller, leave you wanting more. So maybe that's good. Let's see. Because they're so hardworking on Half-Life 3 and Left 4 Dead, Team Fortress 2 updates are being put on hiatus until next year. That means we only have 3 classes updated.
Yeah. Sucks for people who aren't fans of those classes, I suppose, but I
If
don't
you're-
know. It's still plenty of. Since the game has come out, they've released some pretty significant free content updates to it. So
For the PC and the 360. Because they reconfirmed that the PlayStation 3 is not getting that.
yeah, but the 360 one still hasn't been announced, right? They still don't know. They've said it's coming, but they haven't said when. Right?
They reconfirmed that it's still coming, but not when.
yeah.
So,
So that might not be until one of these other updates sometime in 2009.
Philip, tag team.
Sure. Let's get to talking about Peter Molyneux because I know we all want to. He says his next game may be politically contentious. In an interview with Kokizo, he said there's nothing else remotely like it ever before. Ever.
Really?
Yes, he said that.
Interesting.
Didn't he also call it
Yes,
fantastically ambitious?
he says.
When he says that,
Right
then
here.
I get concerned.
I wanted to bring.
never said anything
Actually,
like this ever.
unbelievably ambitious is the quote. He says, everyone at Microsoft who's seen it is super excited about it. There's just huge anticipation for us to finally show it. He says he wants to show it at GDC, the upcoming GDC 2009, which will be at the end of March. But he said it might take longer because Microsoft wants to make it. He said Microsoft wants to shock and awe the industry when it's finally revealed. And then in addition to that, he said, especially with the current timing, this will be really politically contentious.
I wanted to bring this up when you were talking earlier about Fable versus Fallout and how you thought like Fallout was going to hit at a very like appropriate time. Mm-hmm. I think this is I'm really excited about this. I don't really usually get excited or buy into the Molyneux stuff, but I want to see more of this stuff.
I hope he's talking about content and not about technology.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I hope it's something...
I don't know how technology would be...
Well, no, in the past, it's always been, this game is going to do, like, it's going to, read your thoughts and make you cry. But I hope it's either something daring with current affairs or, like...
There's so much material to work with now.
Yeah.
The thing that also really makes me wonder about this is that he's also said recently, including in the interview we did with him on 1UpFM that Garnet did, he said that for his next game, it's an idea that can fit on a postage stamp, I think was the quote.
Yeah, that sounds
it's
about
like
right.
that. He's also been, in addition to talking about it here, he's been saying in a lot of interviews that it's this super simplistic, just like one single idea that's going to be this whole amazing game. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two things intersect and what exactly that means. I don't know when we'll actually hear about it, but...
Hopefully GDC.
Hopefully.
Maybe he's bringing back BC. It looks good.
Is that going to be politically contentious?
I don't know.
It would be
Spark an evolution debate?
Gondwanderland versus Pangea. Fight!
Sponsored by Geico.
Wow. IDOS has
Free
announced...
idea part 2.
IDOS has announced exclusive Xbox 360 downloadable content for Tomb Raider Underworld. They're going to release 2 DLC packs exclusive to the 360 version, which will add new areas and a new playable character for a total of 6 additional hours of gameplay. The first chapter is titled Beneath the Ashes, and it's going to release around Christmas time. It's going to have new enemies, etc.
So here we go again. Here's the testing your tolerance for that. We have established that we will sell you a game and then sell you more of it.
But not if you own a PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
You're screwed.
But we're also going to tell you that we're going to charge you for more before it's come out. So we've already decided that there's a bunch of games you don't get to buy when you buy the disc, even though we've already made it.
Mm-hmm. We also presume you're still very excited for Lara Croft.
Hey, I am excited for Tomb Raider Underworld. The last few ones have been good.
It does look a lot like Uncharted, and I liked Uncharted.
I did play it recently for a story that will be in EGM, an upcoming issue, and I'm excited for it. But like Andrew says, it's not coming to any other system. They confirmed that it is exclusive for the 360
forever.
Forever. They say it will never come. It's not a timed exclusive, so it's not going to come out for the PS3 or the PC versions of Tomb Raider Underworld.
Why would they do this? Why would they sync their own SKUs?
And they also said that there are no plans to do any like exclusive content for those versions, like any different content.
I believe they were compensated.
There's been a bunch of that. Are we? I mean, talking of that kind of. Sorry to break the news flow, but is the Shaun White stuff?
That was just about to get into that. Speaking of other exclusive content, according to a report from MTV, Target is going to be getting an exclusive course for Shaun White snowboarding if you buy the game there.
All the versions?
As far as this says,
all three versions it's $5 more at Target. And you get Target Mountain, so it's an entire mountain. It's the only mountain in the game that has a loop, so that.
Is there a Target store you can go into?
I don't know.
There is Target advertising all over it, apparently. It's Target branded.
In the normal game, you don't get to unlock Shaun White himself until you've beaten the game, but if you buy it at Target, because he has this big deal with Target, he's like one of their spokespeople. Mm-hmm. So if you buy the game at Target, you can unlock Shaun White as a playable character from the beginning. It's $5 more, and they're never going to make this content available for non-Target versions.
It's not going to be offered as downloadable content in the future, they said.
So, but this version is $64.99 on the PS3 and 360, and $54 for the Wii game. It's got to be like the most expensive Wii game that doesn't come with a peripheral.
I believe this will be one of the fall's best-selling games. So
it looks really good.
I think it's going to be huge.
Like my SSX gland is twitching for this.
I was telling Phil earlier, this kind of pits my love of Target and snowboarding versus my hatred of bullshit. So I don't know what's going to win out.
Yeah, it's I don't know, and like I mean, if it's a really cool track, maybe it
has a loop.
It's got a loop.
It's a loop.
It's got a fucking loop.
That's true, I guess.
Dude,
I don't know.
I
will say I'm not that excited about getting to play as Shaun White.
I
will say this precedent is not that new. I was forced to purchase the Walmart exclusive copy of Super Mario Advance to get the Walmart exclusive e-card level.
Oh, that's right.
And there have been, but I mean, there have been games that have only been available at certain. I mean, wasn't the
Walmart, Toys R Us? This has happened a few times.
Yeah, that does happen. You're right.
And the fact, I mean, well, I mean, it's an interesting way of approaching the impending challenge of keeping games at retail. It's like, okay, do
brick and mortar,
exclusive brick and mortar deals.
Exactly.
If you want this way, you've got to buy it here.
Yeah. We've got more downloadable content to talk about. Guitar Hero World Tour is going to have DLC available immediately on the day the game launches. You'll be able to download tracks. You'll be able to get
that they didn't include on the disc.
That's right. The classic
this
rock.
bums me out because this might affect where I get this game.
Yeah.
Actually,
Have you
gonna have
listened to
the-
the new REM album?
it's good. It's Return to Form. It's only 34 minutes long though.
Oh.
It's going to have the classic rock track pack, which will consist of Rock and Roll Band by Boston, Hot Blooded by Foreigner, and Jesse's Girl by Rick Springfield.
Everyone likes Jesse's Girl.
Everybody.
Everyone
Yeah,
likes
that's true.
And everybody's girlfriend likes Jesse's
It's true.
Girl.
And then on October 30th, there's going to be exclusive 360 downloadable content in the form of an REM track pack that includes Horse to Water, Man-Sized Wreath, and Supernatural Super Serious.
Are those the best 3 ones?
Wait, those are just 3 songs from the new album? That's
Yeah,
all
that is correct.
That's all you get.
It's only 3 songs. All right, that's not enough for me to.
And those will be exclusive to Xbox Live Marketplace for a while. I don't know how. They don't say how long.
I think
but-
it was like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, and then eventually the PlayStation Network will get those as well. So it's not like
Deal breaker.
yeah, you don't have to worry too much. And then also apparently Metallica's Death Magnetic album, which they released on Guitar Hero 3, despite the fact that most of the Guitar Hero 3 DLC isn't forwards compatible, that is. So if you bought that for Guitar Hero 3, you will be able to play that on Guitar Hero World Tour. So that's good news, I guess.
Such a tangled web.
Yeah,
It is.
I don't really
It's
understand.
like,
They also didn't
Some
say.
of it-
They also didn't say prices.
How
for any
ironic
of this.
that in what is clearly a DRM related issue, that it's Metallica that breaks the DRM like rule on Guitar Hero.
Lars demanded it personally.
Yeah.
All right. So there's that. Shane's excited about the REM stuff at least. And then I'm excited. Castle Crashers finally patch is approaching, hopefully. They said after weeks of people waiting for the game to get patched to fix some of the issues people have been having with saved characters getting deleted and such, they say it's ready for certification. They were just kind of waiting on
This is good because given how long it took them to make the damn game in the first place,
Yeah.
the fact that they've patched it this quick is pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, Andrew, you asked the question here: is it too late for this?
Does this like kill all the goodwill for this company?
It's still one of the biggest XBLA releases of the year. People are still talking about it.
I mean, the
But
thing is,
does it like cast a doubt or shadow on their next game?
yeah.
Like,
Well, I know the thing that
I'm not buying that until like 4 weeks after.
It won't be out for another 5 years anyway. We'll have all forgotten by then.
Yeah. I know the problem that I've had, and like I've been waiting to even play the game because I know people have had problems. I know friends have had problems with it, and I'm like, I don't want to like spend a bunch of time in this and have like my character get deleted. So I've been waiting. I know that Milky's been waiting. So it's just like,
Me too. I mean,
What's this
I was going to download it, and then everyone was just like angry.
see, my problem is I've already paid and downloaded it. So,
Oh.
like at this point, you might just forget about it, and not even
It's
download
entirely possible.
it. Thankfully, we won't have to forget about 50 Cent because 50 Cent Blood on the Sand, his new game.
Which looks surprisingly good.
That's right. You did the first story on that in
previewed it
EGM,
twice.
right?
Yeah, every time I'm like, this is a shockingly proficient Gears of War clone. It really is.
Yeah. Shockingly proficient.
Shockingly
That's high praise. Well, it was dropped earlier this year with the Activision Blizzard merger, but it turns out that THQ has picked it up.
Because they couldn't. Is this because they couldn't split it into 3 games and charge you full price for all 3 of them?
Well, that was the at the time that's Activision released a press release saying that's what
they can't. We can't actually make 50 Cent into 3 different people, so it's cancelled.
John, you can't divide 50 by 3 cleanly.
Is
decimal
it going to be
points.
out before the end of the year?
They haven't said.
If you were to change
the
it
thing
into
is that
60 Cent, maybe we could do something.
I believe that THQ hasn't actually confirmed this yet because the news actually comes courtesy of people on NeoGAF.
Oh.
They picked up from the Australian Office of Film and Literature classification, where
I
they
think we call that a popular online message board.
excuse me, a
popular
popular online message board. My bad.
I think if they're smart, they'll try to get it out before the end of the year because he has a new album and a really horrible-looking direct-to-DVD movie that he directed that you should go watch the trailer of. It's
Is it
really-
porn?
What's the name?
It's called Before I Self-Destruct, and wow. Yeah.
I'm gonna go watch that trailer
It's
after this.
Really, really good.
And in addition to that,
Sounds a little emo for 50 Cent.
He's pissed off. He's quitting. It's his last album.
I thought he quit like 2
that's
years
what
ago.
every rapper says with every album that they put out.
It's true.
Anyways,
Listen to us white boys talking about hip hop.
yeah, that's right. Activision. Speaking of other titles dropped by Activision Blizzard, the Ghostbusters game has apparently been picked up by Atari. This news comes
they
courtesy.
could have split into. They could have been the Egon version of Ghostbusters, the Bill Murray version. They could have multiple versions of Ghostbusters.
I would just buy the Bill Murray version.
The Slimer version for Wii.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
I would buy the Egon version.
missed opportunity.
But who's bringing it? Atari.
Supposedly Atari. This actually comes courtesy of Dan Aykroyd.
Live 105 KIL Dallas.
Wow, you could do that for a living.
Yeah, maybe.
We should hook this up. Kotaku's reporting that Dan Aykroyd told the radio station you just heard that basically the game is still coming out. Atari's going to be the one publishing it now, but he said that it's still at least a year away. And originally we were expecting it this year, back when Activision Blizzard was still publishing it. But
People are speculating that maybe it's being pushed a little to maybe tie into a possible Ghostbusters 3.
that's
Possible.
That seems like
I really
that would be
hope
coming
they don't.
really
I hope
fast
they don't.
though.
Yeah,
If it was only a year away.
probably not.
So Atari kind of like really bouncing back. I mean, they're profitable now. They just got bought back fully by. They're now part of Infogrames again, fully.
But I will say this: what I heard people talking about Atari at TGS was they're moving towards a platform agnostic philosophy where their games are for everything, and you can play them wherever you want. And
I think we're going to hear a lot of publishers starting to talk like that.
I've heard that's like their real MO
I'm sure
moving forward.
John
Haven't they
Riccatello
also-
will be saying things like that in the not too distant future.
Who was it from Sony that went over to Atari?
Oh, that'd be Phil
Phil
Harrison.
Yeah, Phil Harrison. Wasn't he also saying that he wants to make Atari do more like casual stuff, like
Casual,
not,
episodic.
Like
I
mainstream?
think they've been talking about kind of the more virtual world and web,
Right.
playable on the web type stuff. But I think what they've done with, Alone in the Dark, the upgrade to Alone in the Dark is so significant now that they've changed the name of the game, right?
You mean
Yeah.
the fix?
Yeah.
Not the upgrade. The
Yeah.
fix.
I'm playing that this weekend, so I
Have you tried it yet?
I haven't yet. I actually just got it, so
It's-
I'm going to be checking it out.
Dude,
this
don't let Nick Sutter play it. It'll be like an A+ prime.
That's
No
why I'm
offense.
playing it, not Nick.
But they've made substantial change. Like the camera's different. There's all kinds of stuff changed in it, right?
There's a huge list. They added a new chapter. They made it so that you can control the cameras. They made it so that the game pauses when you're searching your
And
inventory.
this is going to be a patch for the 360 version.
Yeah, and that's the really big part too, is that they're releasing it as a patch for the 360 version. So even if you already bought the 360 version,
and
you're still getting
and you
these
still
fixes.
have it. You somehow managed to keep it.
The patch won't have the new content, of course,
No.
but it will have like the fixes. So I'm excited to check it out. And to be fair, Nick did assign it to me, so I shouldn't be so mean to him.
Is that it? Is that all we have
That's
on
all
news?
we have. John, do you have any more news?
I don't know. It feels a little light this month.
Could we please leave?
Yeah, we can leave. Next week, Garnet will be back from the Far East with tales of adventure and drinking, probably. We'll have
I'll be
more-
in my corner.
a lot of
doing
games
news.
come out on
Yeah,
Tuesday.
well, probably
hot games.
We'll have less news, but probably way more games to talk about.
Yeah.
So stick to us with that. I can't speak anymore.
That means it's time to go.
It means it's time to go. And there you go. We can confirm. Bye.
This One Up podcast is brought to you by Dead Space. Take on the role of engineer Isaac Clarke aboard a stricken interstellar mining ship and battle the hideously transformed crew of necromorphs. Fight your way through a blood-curdling interactive horror experience featuring state-of-the-art graphics and effects, a panic-inducing audio system, and a truly frightening atmosphere of death and despair. Dead Space is in stores October 14th on the PS3 and Xbox 360 and October 20th on the PC. Visit deadspace.ea.com for more information.